All right, we're actually early tonight here on Sportswire Radio because we have a lot to get to here, especially when it comes to the world of sports and wrestling. Also, we're going to be pulling double duty because I'm going to be back on the air in about 2.5 hours from now with BWU World Champion Ace Reed. But in the meantime, we're joined by the regular Sportswire Radio team. And to kick things off for us here is our host of the Hockey Fan Chat, our resident wrestling analyst and expert, also dabbled a little bit in that world, and that is Mr. Randy Dillon. Randy, how you doing out there? And hope you had a Merry Christmas, and looking forward to speaking with you here one more time in 2023.
I'm doing good, Tom. Hope you had a Merry Christmas to you and all the viewers out there. And definitely looking forward to it. Not much happening in the world of WWE, but we got them big shows. In AEW, they got a big show tomorrow. But some breaking news you mentioned earlier with Mercedes Monet.
Yeah, I mean, getting right into that, I mean, it seems as if that she's getting ready for a return to the ring in the United States. And there was some other news out there, Randy, that stated that on the WWE's debut show on Raw for 2024, a former champion is going to return. So I'm almost wondering here, what is going on, and who could this be? And is it Mercedes Monet?
I don't know if it's going to be Mercedes Monet at this time. I think if Mercedes Monet returned, it would be more to the Rumble with that suspense. I think we could see the lights of a Brock Lesnar returning, maybe the possibility of a Big E finally coming back.
Well, they said there wasn't somebody on the current roster, so Brock Lesnar would have to be. He's a part of WWE.
Yeah.
Big E, all right, that's a maybe, but I think Lesnar's technically wouldn't count.
No, definitely. You got the lights of Dave Bautista. Listen, there was rumors he's supposed to go in the Hall of Fame. Maybe this year he's going to the Hall of Fame this year. And then you got your other regulars like your Goldberg. You got the lights of maybe Hulk Hogan.
Well, Goldberg, after what he said about Vince McMahon the other day, I would be really, really shocked if it was Goldberg. I mean, Hogan was making noise. He's always making noise about a return to the ring, but he's 70 at this point. I don't even know if we really want to see it. I think the name that would make a little bit of sense, who we saw in AEW a few months back, who's still in pretty good shape. And you mentioned, obviously, we're getting into WrestleMania season and ECW, and Rob Van Dam would be a name that I actually think would make a little bit of sense. He showed he could still go out there in the ring. He still looks great. I mean, that would be somebody that would be a surprise, and we are going into Mania season. This is the kind of, maybe he goes here for a couple months, something like that. I mean, what do you say on something like a Rob Van Dam maybe as a possibility?
Rob Van Dam's an interesting name because I know originally there was talks in summer saying that they had plans for him to show up and do something in Philadelphia, but all those plans got thrown out the window when he showed up in AEW. Now we know his new people in charge with TKO. Vince is not running the shots there. Is Nick Khan and Triple A thinking, okay, we bring this guy out to come make an appearance? So I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't know if was a Vince guy, because I feel like, and I think I said this on a few shows back on Sportswire when it came down to the Liv Morgan arrest, that, famously Rob Van Dam got those two championships taken away from that he held simultaneously. And I don't think his career was ever the same in WWE. That was a Vince McMahon decision. So, I mean, RVD coming in, he's got something left. I mean, that would make some sense to me. I mean, is there any other name if you're not saying it's Mercedes Monet? Dave Bautista is an interesting one. I kind of feel like, though, Dave Bautista, after WrestleMania 35, that was kind of the end, unless you're going to induct him. I mean, but there's one more name out there that I have to mention because he always gets mentioned, and that is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I was gonna say it might be even Cena just making an appearance here on the first episode.
But we just saw him. Yeah, but we just saw him in a run, though. I mean, I feel like it's got to be somebody unexpected.
The Rock is an interesting name because there was a lot of news coming out saying Australia really wanted to show up at the Elimination pay-per-view. Now, I know with all this talk saying, oh my goodness, we're going to see Rock with Roman. I don't think we're going to see Rock versus Roman. I don't think it's not at that point. Fans, I think, are tired of Roman having the belt. I don't think there's much more you can do with his character. So, and if Rock facing that Mania, it's the one Roman's going to win. Now, the other name I could see him work with is Jimmy J. Uso to maybe set something up between him and him and The Rock versus Solo and Jimmy if they don't do the one-on-one match.
Yeah, I mean a tag match would be okay, but don't you think though that you got to go big here? No, let's go play along for a second, Randy. All right, Rob Van Dam, maybe not a big enough name for January 1st. Obviously, you're still in the middle. You're dealing with the college football playoff. You still got stuff going on. It's New Year's Day. You want to get people to make a splash. It's the first show of the season. You still got the contract negotiations in the balance hanging out there. So if you're going to really go big or go home almost, I mean, The Rock is got to be that name. If you're saying it's not Mercedes Moné, that would be a name that would definitely make a splash for sure. But The Rock would have to be that person, right? The go big or go home moment.
The only one other name I could think of to make an appearance is The Undertaker. That is maybe it.
All right. I mean, we saw him on NXT a few months back. I mean, okay, that would be all right, but what are you setting that up for, though? The Rock, at least, there's always, you feel like you got loose ends to still tie a bow into. That's just my point on that.
No, The Rock definitely makes sense. It's just, he's been so in and out of the picture at this time where I have to believe it to see it when The Rock showed up. There was all the talk last year saying he was going to be at WrestleMania, and it got pulled really close to the Rumble, and they had to change plans last minute. So unless I'm only going to believe I see it at this point with The Rock.
All right, fair enough. And let me get to some names here. I want to say hello to Mr. Ron himself from the state of Pennsylvania. Good evening, Tom and Randy. I think, is this the real Chris Craven or Craven Rage? I'm assuming it's one of the others, but let me know which one so I don't get it mixed up. But Stone Cold Steve Austin. All right, it's another interesting one, but do you feel Stone Cold Steve Austin is done, or it's the real Chris Craven? How you doing, Coach? Coach, obviously, we haven't heard from Coach in a while, and I think we just reconnected because, Randy, sidebar here real quick, we announced a guest to come on, a former wrestler, kind of in a way like the Coach, like the British version of Coach, and apparently somebody that used to do a lot of work with us on Sportswire, a failed promoter, let me just put it that way very nicely, got all basically loose combobulated and basically lost his mind and said that he was these different things, this individual. But as people know about Sportswire, we don't take any political position. We're a sports show, and they were basically going on about women's rights and transgender, but we don't have anything to do with that stuff. So if that individual had made those different comments or said those different things, that has zero to do with us. That individual was a former wrestler going to talk about his career. So, I just want to make that clear. That's how the Coach and I connected. But let's go back to Stone Cold, and maybe we'll see the Coach this weekend because I'll have an announcement later on in the show. But I mean, so what about Stone Cold, though? Is that a name that you buy into?
I could see Austin making an appearance. Listen, next to The Rock, Austin gets the loudest pop out there. Definitely everyone wants to hear the smash, the stunners, the rumors out there.
We saw him a couple of years ago against Kevin Owens. He still is in good shape. I mean, I don't know if he's in ring shape, but
no, he's not in ring shape. Like all the people dreaming of Austin versus Punk, it ain't gonna happen. he's on his. We've seen the seeds planted with him versus Rollins at Mania, where the money and the interest of all the fans. And so I could see him coming up there, and maybe at the end of the Judgment Day gets involved in that McIntyre and Seth Rollins match. Austin comes out and gives a few stunners.
Let me ask you one side point, because just recently it was the 14-year anniversary of Vince McMahon announcing Bret Hart was going to return on WWE television. And that's a name we haven't seen on WWE TV. And would there be any chance that Bret Hart would appear on New Year's Day? I mean, I know probably doesn't have the star power that he had, 14 years ago, in kind of that shocking moment, but we haven't seen Bret Hart in a while on WWE TV. Would that be a name that would
I'm doubtful for Bret. I would see Bret, if anything, he would come back if they had a show here live in Calgary or somewhere in Canada. That way, I think you're going to get a big reaction from him. I think bringing Bret is moot point. You're not going to get the reaction you were going to get in 2010, where the talk was, will he ever come back?
Okay. Well, it's interesting, and I want to say hello because we're only here with Randy for a little while, so I want to say hello to TBK because I'm only going to be with Randy for about 15 or 20 minutes because we actually have an announcement to get to on Sportswire Radio from one of our own, is actually going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I want to bring on the team with that. Maybe I'll let you stay on actually for that announcement if you don't mind.
No worries.
Let's get to that. Austin at Mania, yeah, but I think we kind of answered that.
Yeah.
I don't see Austin Punk. I think at that point, I mean Austin's 59, but I just don't see it at this point. But I think Rollins and Punk we saw make his return to the WWE and actually in-ring competition here at Madison Square Garden. Let me get to a good comment here from Ethan Sorensen. How you doing, Ethan? Nice to be with you here. Hello, Tom and Randy. How are you guys? I have a question. What are the chances of Randy Orton dethroning Roman Reigns? Because in my opinion, he does have the sinister Punk kick. All right, well, what do you say about that?
If it was at WrestleMania, I could definitely see it because you look at Randy Orton, really, he's the only one left in that regime that can challenge Ric Flair 16-time record to beat the record of holding the world championship. Because at the Rumble, I'm doubtful at this point because I feel if anyone to beat Roman, it has to be at the biggest stage of them all. Beating them at, I know the Rumble is still in a big event, but you have to really close up the show, this highlight moment, because how Roman's built as this ultimate boss level character in a video game, you have to do it at the top level, and I think it has to be at Mania. So I don't see him doing it at Royal Rumble.
Okay, so would you see Roman Reigns and Randy Orton at WrestleMania? Is that a no?
No, I don't think so. I think because they're doing it at Rumble, it's not going to happen at Mania.
All right, fair enough. Let me get to a few more comments here. First of all, let's bring Ron back in. I love Randy Orton, but Swerve Strickland will become world champion before Roman loses his title. And Swerve Strickland's going to be wrestling Keith Lee at World's End. We'll spend a few minutes on that as well. And let me come back to our coach. And I'm actually thinking about making an announcement before you get off about something I'm working on for Sunday, but we'll see if people have interest in that. First of all, AJ Lee returning and Jade Cargill debuting at the Rumble. Now, what do you think of those things? Obviously, we're hearing a lot about AJ these days because, well, her husband is a part of things. And Jade Cargill, we saw a big build-up for her a couple months ago and kind of, I guess, I don't know if it's back of the line, training, performance centers. So what do you think of those? That's actually two solid points there by the coach. That's why he's the coach.
AJ Lee, not yet. I think right now you're still in this honeymoon phase with CM Punk where he's driving the bus with all the attention. Just let him run it. You can definitely bring her down the road. Give her some time.
But she's got star power too. That's just a name that a lot of wrestling fans have kind of wondered, where has she been? I think it's been, almost 9 years since we last saw her too.
What do you do with her? Because the easiest decision is you put her in a match with Becky because of the Punk and Rollins. There's really no one kind of left when she left WWE. Like you had the Bella.
Couldn't you put her up there with, let's say, Rhea Ripley?
I don't know if that's the right move with her to go up against Rhea Ripley because Rhea Ripley right now is becoming the kind of the top class of.
But if she's not going to be here long, wouldn't you use her for that one moment, kind of like what we saw with Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch earlier this year? You kind of use her in that way if she's not going to be here as a full-time competitor, which she probably wouldn't be, I would think, at this point.
She wouldn't be there. The only thing is where you look at Trish Stratus. Now, Trish Stratus, one of the greatest of all time. Physical, great shape.
I think she might be the greatest women's wrestler of all time. Might be one of the greatest of all time, period.
AJ Lee, she has stepped away from the wrestling completely. Whereas Trish went transition to the fitness. Well, AJ Lee, I know recently had transitioned in that way. And Ric Flair have said this many times. A wrestler's worst enemy is not being active daily. I think there's a lot of pressure putting on AJ Lee, her first match in many years, to beat someone, to go against someone like Rhea Ripley. It's a lot of expectation pressure, and I don't know if that's something you want to put on her shoulders right away.
Okay, fair points. Let me get to a bunch of comments here. Cody versus Reigns part 2. That would be, I guess, the obvious one.
It's the obvious decision, I think. Listen, Cody, we know Cody's contract coming on. I think he has shown he can be the face of WWE for the next 2 to 3 years, even longer. So I think putting the belt on him is the right decision at this point.
The decision would be to put the title on Punk, you're saying?
Oh, Cody, I meant.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Cody, I would think then because that goes back to your original point about how much longer is Roman going to retain the title. I'm not sure about Punk getting the title, but Cody, I would certainly make that's a fair point. And Coach also wants to say Punk versus Rollins. Now that Punk is back, as we know at the wrestling world, never say never still applies. Yeah, and I think that's also about AJ, but Ron wants to say AJ Lee is not returning. Rhea is on fire. AJ wouldn't last 2 minutes. I mean, we don't even know what's happening with AJ. AJ versus Rhea would not be good. Alexa Bliss, but Alexa Bliss just had a baby. I mean, I don't know what the timetable would be for her to return to the ring, and I'm not sure that she's the draw either. I don't think Alexa Bliss to me is a draw against Rhea at the moment. Now, maybe 5 months down the road, but I don't know if
I could see her coming back more than anything at Rumble as an appearance, not on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, but her to challenge the title, I don't know if that
doesn't make sense. She needs to be built up at this point.
Yeah. We want Alexa back so bad. He wants him back. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people definitely miss her. There's no question about that. She was a phenomenal talent and a phenomenal competitor. But, we'll have to see. I'm not one of those CM Punk marks, but the women's division needs a head of the Rumble. They always bring surprise returns from. Yeah, that's a good point by the coach, because I always feel like on the women's end, there's been more surprise than the men's the last few years. I think that's a pretty good point.
100%. You look at Mickie James a few years ago, the first Rumble with some of the returns. You get your Michelle McCool coming in the crowd.
And she did a great job. She really performed well in that Rumble.
Ivory.
Mickie James we had there was
Molly Holly,
champion. Yep.
You've had a lot of great.
Lita made some appearances. Yep.
So definitely the women's, I think, especially with some of the women in years past where they had the talent, but they never got those opportunities. So definitely I think they deserve that opportunity to come to Rumble and help, because this has been a long time coming for them.
Well, we're going to find out. And obviously, if you want to follow Randy, you can follow him on Twitter at RandyDHILO, and also on Instagram. I'm going to announce it here real quick before I get to more wrestling questions. As a reminder, I'm going to be here tomorrow night in the middle of AEW Worlds, and to induct as the 7th and 8th members of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. IMF Hardcore Champion, the Boogeyman of the Midwest, Omen Black. IMF World Heavyweight Champion, the popular Hero Monster, Soldier GP. And also, since it's going to be New Year's Eve on Sunday night, I'm actually thinking about if people are out there and they want to tune in, they want to join the stream, whether it's the coach, whether it's anybody else who wants to talk wrestling, I will be on the air before New Year's Eve and we go into 2024, because I'm not going to be doing anything. I'm not actually going anywhere. So if there are people out there that want to talk and you want to share what's on your mind, you want to definitely talk about anything else out there in wrestling, I'll go on, I guess, maybe from 10 o'clock on, something like that. That's a good time for people. So maybe we'll have some names. I know 8 o'clock I'm on with Jackson Sabre from DBW. We'll hang out with him for a little while. I'll take a little bit of a break, and then I'll be on for a couple of hours. So whoever else wants to be on Sportswire and promote themselves and talk, it looks like the coach has answered, and we'll definitely have the coach on with us Sunday night. Maybe we'll even let him come on to say a few things to Omen and Soldier tomorrow night. So we'll also have here, I'm predicting Rhea versus Jade at Mania. Yeah, we did speak about Jade a lot, though, several weeks ago, and kind of waiting for the punchline there almost. No?
I think they were saving her for Charlotte Flair, how things were going. That was the ideal match, and I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
From what I know, what happened with Jade Cargill was they built her up a lot, and I was reading something from Dave Meltzer saying maybe she wasn't as ready in ring shape she was now. Her grandmother did pass away earlier this year, and she was in a tough battle with an illness, so she wasn't training as hard. Definitely, I think things have now kind of put in past. She's new year with big opportunity Mania. I could definitely see her, and then NXT might be a spot, but definitely I think the Royal Rumble, we could see her debut.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jade Cargill, a lot of people expected a lot so far, and we haven't got much. Let me get to Ethan here. I want to say hello to Ethan. Even though we love AJ Lee to return to the WWE, I think that she had a lot of injuries and will be good just to recover from her injuries. Well, what's it been, 8-9 years almost since we last saw her in a ring? I mean, I guess it could be done. I mean, Trish Stratus had stepped away for a number of periods of time, and we saw her against Charlotte Flair back in, 2018, I think, when she came back at SummerSlam. So, I mean, Lita's come back. I mean, AJ is definitely probably, I would say, 10 years, give or take, younger than them. So, I mean, you could pull it off, but, she's also done different things in her life, so we'll have to see. Yeah, I'll let you come on. Yeah, I'll let you come on Sunday. Yeah, we could definitely let you come on. Yeah, that's fine. Sunday, I will let you come on now, but I'm gonna get off in about 10 minutes. Regular wrestling, but yeah, if you want to come on New Year's Eve, I'm gonna leave the link open to anybody. So yeah, definitely. From 10 o'clock on, you want to talk wrestling, you want to shoot the breeze, I'm gonna be on because well, there's nothing to do. So yeah, definitely, Coach. I can count you in, and
if I'm available, I'll be more than happy to join you, Tom.
All right, so if you're around, you're not doing nothing. I'm gonna be on till past midnight. So I will definitely be on the whole evening. It's New Year's Eve. I figured, you know what? Why not have a good time and let people enjoy themselves? And that's what we'll do. So yeah, definitely come on down, hang out, join the conversation, and AJ versus Alexa. Yeah, I mean that would be interesting, like kind of almost like a legacy match. But
I don't see Alexa because I know AJ
Yeah.
Moore had something with Bailey, with Charlotte, with Becky, with Mercedes. Those are the ones she was. I think Alexa. I think people gotta remember Alexa was not a part of that group. She was more of an afterthought when she got the main roster.
Yeah,
she took her
it
shot
took
at
her a
Raw.
while. Yeah, she wasn't the Four Horsemen. It took her a while to get into the spot. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Whereas I think you look at Mercedes, Bailey, Charlotte, Becky, and then I think AJ was the tier ahead of them.
Yeah.
So that's why you see maybe those, I guess, comparisons or who those people she would feud with. I think with Alexa, we have to just see. I mean, she just had a baby, so I don't know I wouldn't know the timetable and when she expects to come back. So that's really, I think, the hang up there on that. Yeah, it would be believable, but again, I think the questions about the baby. Yeah, definitely thank you for that. All right, so yeah, we'll definitely let you guys come, and I'm looking forward to seeing both of you guys New Year's Eve. Figure about 10 o'clock Eastern time, a little after 10 o'clock. We'll definitely let people come out and hang out with us on Sportswire Radio. So then I got to ask you then real quick, AEW World's End. Let's go with Christian and Adam Copeland, aka Edge, and Samoa Joe and MJF. I mean, what do you think on these two matches? And am I finally expecting the moment here with Adam Cole to kind of reveal himself in some way? Wink, wink. And what do you think about these two matches? I would say these are two of the more marquee matches. And maybe I'll let you have a thought on a couple of other things. Kingston and Moxley once again, the 8-man tag, and anything else you want to add about World's End?
So World's End, talking about Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage in a no disqualification match. Going to be a great match. They had a great match at Montreal, so definitely them getting the pay-per-view with the no disqualification. Going to be some great move. I do see Christian Cage keeping the title. As much as I want to see Adam Copeland win, I think Christian Cage right now is making the TNT champion relevant back to when Brody Lee first showed up and won that title. It hasn't been relevant since then. It's been a long time. The only thing I worry about this match is if Adam Copeland loses, then what next do you really do with him? Does he go right to the world champion? Does he wrestle guys like?
Well, how would he go to the world title if he loses this match?
I don't know. AEW doesn't.
I mean, I know it's AEW booking, but that doesn't make sense. I mean, you wrestled a little bit, and the coach wrestled a little bit. I mean, you guys know the deal a little bit. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I know it's AEW these days, and it's kind of a weird thing that go on there, but I mean, I don't know, Randy. Help me out there.
But other than that, like, what do you really do? Like, maybe you could do something with Hangman. Maybe him and Jericho kind of renew rivalry. Maybe him and Jay Lethal, because I know he really wanted to wrestle Kenny Omega, but unfortunately, Kenny Omega we might not be seeing for quite some time.
Yeah, I think we didn't talk about that when we were on the air, and I think that's obviously throwing a huge wrench into things. Obviously, with Jericho and Omega, they were teamed up, and Omega you would have expected to get back maybe into main event title contention. So, I mean, okay, so maybe Adam Copeland doesn't win. Don't know what to do with him. Same old story in AEW. But Samoa Joe and MJF, I mean, what is going on here?
This is a tough one because I was reading an article and MJF is hurting a lot physically. I think he was saying his shoulder hurt, his ribs hurt. We heard about the other injury. He's on taking a lot of painkillers. So I'm really wondering, do you take the belt from him and let him rest, and then you can build the story with Adam Cole? Because Adam Cole, I still think, is a few months away, and you kind of deal with.
But then, are you then putting the title on Samoa Joe here? Is that what you're doing?
I think you have to at this point, because I think it's at this point, like, as much as people love wrestling, at the end of the day, these guys are human. There's only so much the human body taken. We've seen the likes of CM Punk returning early a few years ago with the broken leg. Bryan Danielson wrestling with the eye patch with the injury.
Yes.
in AEW with a much not clean wrestling where guys get hurt very easily, and he's already hurting a lot. Like even though they have a lighter schedule, how much
They don't
can
even have a
body...
schedule compared to WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, they wrestle. So WWE right now is wrestling a lot this week, but I mean, AEW's schedule is almost like TNA Impact Wrestling schedule 10 years ago, and you can't see anything about that on Twitter.
No, exactly. But I wonder, do you take the title more from MJF at this point, more for his health reasons? And
well, he's had the title, 13 months now?
13 months, and it's been an up and down reign where it started off hot, kind of fell.
And what about
flat.
the contract? Before I get to more comments.
I think the contract, that will be the big question about the contract, because I think if he retains, I have to believe he's going to resign with AEW. If he doesn't retain, well, definitely then they're going to be questions.
Is Tony Khan AEW trying to pull a fast one on their fans, and AEW signed MJF months ago, and I mean,
he came out and said he hasn't resigned. He came out and said, I haven't signed a contract
yet. Yeah, but people say that all the time. People say, yeah, I'm not doing this. Listen, actors say they're not going to be in a movie, then all of a sudden you see him in a movie. I mean, listen, they've said John Wick wasn't going to be made after John Wick 3, and they're talking John Wick 5 already.
Listen, AEW is not the greatest at keeping secrets. We saw, like, the minute the news came out of the Elite sign, that came out, Ric Flair, CM Punk, Adam Copeland, they were actually able to keep a good one, but for them others, they haven't done a good job keeping secrets. And this one, I don't know if they're able to keep this one under wrap, but definitely, though, I'm thinking Samoa Joe will win more on the fact of MJF health, because I don't think he can keep going at this pace. And we've seen wrestlers who go at this heavy pace who then they get addicted. Look at Kurt Angle, for example. How hard?
Oh my God, Kurt Angle.
So the MJF, we've seen it where how hard you go and you're unfortunately stuck on those you get addicted to those painkillers, how a downward spiral. So that's why I think the safe move maybe for MJF.
I mean, the British Bulldog was an example of painkillers also. I mean, he was an example. He came too early, and that was that there. Okay, let me get to a bunch of more comments. I'll let the regular team hang out and wait for us to finish some of these things here. I have another question for you, Tom and Randy. What would be your favorite WWE rivalry? John Cena versus Randy Orton that started in 2007, or Randy Orton versus Triple H in 2004, where that was the moment where they did the thumbs down. Remember the thumbs down? And Randy Orton was the youngest champion of all time, and yeah, I mean, Cena and Orton might have been a far longer feud. I mean, how about one I would throw? You didn't mention John Cena and Edge. I think that might have actually been more impactful than Randy Orton and Triple H, for us Ruthless Aggression fans.
Yeah, for this question, I'm going to say, Ethan, John Cena versus Randy Orton, just because I felt Randy Orton, Triple H, they kind of rushed it and they really didn't get more of a story to tell. John Cena, Randy Orton, it was really layered out well, and they kept it going throughout many years.
They were kind of like, for the hockey fans, to me, it was like Ovechkin and Crosby. If you think about their career, like it was almost the way it congruently, you had 15 years of them pretty much as main event guys. Hogan and Macho Man, you didn't get that with. Brett and Shawn, if you think was really their run as top guys at the same time was 3 years, maybe if that, I don't know, 2 years. I mean, there's very few guys you look back all time. Flair and Sting, I don't think really would have compared in that point. I mean, you can go down the list of people when you look at all time. Maybe Undertaker and Triple H, I suppose.
But they were but they had so many breaks in between their career.
Rock and Austin, their run congruently was 3 years, maybe 4. I mean, if you go all time in the list of guys at the top of their game, I think Cena and Orton, nobody's going to top that just because they were in one company and they dominated for as long as they did. So I would have to agree with you, Cena and Orton. I want to say hello to the 8th member tomorrow. It's going to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, the IMF World Champion, the popular heel monster, the Soldier GP. And Soldier, I just watched your match at Winter Clash, and what a match it was. If you haven't watched that entire card, go to IMF Wrestling 666 on YouTube. Please go out there and watch it. These guys put on a kick-ass show. Speaking about people in the British wrestling scene, failed promoters that were trying to say this and that about Sportswire, they could not hold a candle to what the IMF did. So they might have been nonstop, never stop, but, they're non-existent now because the IMF has taken over. That's my 2 cents. Tony Khan is a huge tool and a bigger mark of wrestling. Yeah, I mean, you know what? And he blocks people on Twitter.
as much as Tony Khan may have done the best thing in wrestling in the last 5 years, making AEW, because I think it stepped up W's game with the sale, getting Vince out of power. Otherwise, I don't think it would have worked out. But he definitely has made a lot of mistakes, and I think
the last few months, I mean, AEW is kind of like I hope they're not coming off the rails, but they're coming off the rails, it seems.
And then you just look at lately, like the whole Jericho thing, saying I don't have an NDA, I can talk about the Punk and the Elite incident and a thing with the
got
lawyer.
Those WCW 99
it's
2000 vibes
out
to
of
it, you know?
hand at this point where and we said it, the inmates seem like they've run the asylum in AEW.
Well, that might be a good topic on Sunday's show. Maybe that might be a good topic New Year's Eve. Maybe we can shoot the breeze a little bit on these different things. So maybe, so again, I'll be here at 10 o'clock, from 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve. You want to hang out, you want to talk wrestling, you want to talk anything that's on your mind, I will give a stream link out to anybody that wants to pop. I guess Ethan is too young to know about Rock vs. Stone Cold, but that's his, though, Ron. That's his two favorite feuds. I mean, that's, I mean, I think some of us got to see both eras, but Joe winning the title, it could very well be. If MJF drops the belt to Samoa Joe, it ruins the Devil's story.
I don't think so.
Adam Cole.
I don't think so, because I think that how you get the Devil is attacked with everyone in AEW. You can run this any way possible. I think that the Devil could be multiple superstars, could be a faction they could work on. We know AEW loves their factions, but they have to get this right, because I'm going to give an example of where they didn't get right. Sammy Guevara. Again, he's back with Chris Jericho teaming up.
I know. After a few months ago, he threw his stuff out in the garbage, and he was basically
John Callis' family. Now he's back teaming with Jericho.
Well, AEW, I don't know. What about Eric Rowan? I want to say hello to the ROEW World Heavyweight Champion, the good guy CJ Black, who I'm really excited to watch in the ring coming up New Year's Day, 4 o'clock. In fact, I've actually got the notification on YouTube to watch the match itself, and I'm very excited about him and Jack Delton. Favorite WrestleMania match? That's a great question. Maybe on Sunday's show we'll talk about that for the New Year's Eve. What's your favorite WrestleMania match before I give mine?
Ooh, this is tough, but I would have to go with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker WrestleMania 25, just because I was watching wrestling for a few years then, and that match just took it to another level.
Okay, so you kind of stole what I might have said, so I have to go. I'll stay in the Shawn Michaels lane, but I'm going to go Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 22.
Surprised that never got a 5-star rating. Like, I know.
I never got that. I never got how that kind of like, maybe it got lost because Angle left WWE a few months later, and it was kind of the second run of Shawn Michaels' career. But I think that was maybe the best pure WrestleMania match of two top guys. Maybe that's my favorite. That's a good one. That's a great question. That's why he's the good guy, CJ Black, and I'm not, right? So maybe he'll let us know. X-Pac for New Year's Day. Yeah, I don't think X-Pac would be
he's not a big enough draw, because they're making it sound like the likes of a Hogan, a Rock, Austin.
I love X-Pac, and he's ironically a two-time Hall of Famer. And big shout out to Dirty Donnie. Has always loved Dirty Donnie, but I don't think that he's that guy. But he did have a great match in GCW, by the way. If anybody had a chance to see him in GCW, put on a great match. Edge versus Foley. That's another good one. Yeah, that was WrestleMania.
That took Edge off to the next level, because after his feud with John Cena, it could have went south, but that really, I think, elevated him to another level.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one, Coach. That's another great one. HBK versus Bret the Hitman Hart, the Iron Man match. CJ Barnes, and then Owen and Bret opener WrestleMania 10. That's a good one. That's another good one, definitely. And I have a memory of WrestleMania 10. My wrestling, when I grew up in Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge, actually, before the actual show itself, because it was in the afternoon, I believe it was in that morning, they had wrestlers from, I forget who it was, but they actually came out to our neighborhood and they did a meet and greet. It was like a few hours before the show, because from where I lived to Madison Square Garden was like maybe half an hour by car. So that's my earliest WrestleMania memory. Yeah, Owen and Bret was great. I mean, there's definitely some great matches. Razor and Shawn, the ladder match, excellent. That's another good one. Yeah,
revolutionized that would put the ladder match on the spot right there. Like
Owen better than Bret. Argue with me? No, I wouldn't argue with you on that. I mean, I think Owen definitely, he did more to help his opponents maybe look better in the ring. I think that there's no question about you. And you were trained by somebody in the Hart family.
Yep,
so you
trained by second oldest Hart brother, Bruce Hart. And the one thing I know with Owen, if you watch him, and this is even with professional wrestling, is sometimes you might not be the main event guy, but you're just as important in making your opponent look well. Look at a guy like R-Truth in his career. Might have been a main event, but
this guy, I mean, he looks like he hasn't aged. I mean, I remember first seeing him as K Quick. He looks like the same. I don't know how this guy's done it. The guy isn't. I mean, like guys like him and Billy Gunn. Guys that are like, they're not going to be on Mount Rushmore, but they're going to be Hall of Famers. But they meant so much to their companies, and that goes back to Owen. Owen wasn't a world champion, but he was such an important utility player because he helped those guys get over to the next level. Think about Shawn Michaels, Triple H. How about Triple H? How about Shawn Michaels? How about The Rock? Owen Hart worked with him. How about Edge? He worked with early in his career. So there's a lot of guys that Owen Hart really put over that.
The big one, 97 versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, the broken neck in the middle of the match, like how that all worked out. Like,
that wasn't a memorable
but
match.
How he kept that match in Austin safe. Completely
and the good guy wants to say longevity too soon. Well, I mean, I think obviously that's a very good point, and that's why you're the champion, and we're not here. And he kind of laughs at me. AEW is becoming the new WCW. Yeah, that's what it feels like. I feel like it's in Groundhog Day. I'm going to run through these comments because I know Rob Maraska's waiting here, and I want to get to the announcement shortly. Absolutely right, Randy. Taker Shawn 25 is the absolute standard. Only match to ever make me cry. Yeah, that was a great match. I mean, it was definitely, it's up there. What would happen if Triple H made a match with Sammy Guevara and Randy Orton? Well, Sammy Guevara works in AEW, so it can't happen.
He's one of Tony Khan boys with Jericho, so I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
He can't do it. He doesn't work for him. I'd love to see it. Yeah, Owen was probably a little bit more charismatic than Brett. Brett himself said so many times he wasn't a microphone guy. He was like, it took him kind of a while to get into that, but his mic skills were very dry. Brett's personality was not larger than life than Owen's. That's an absolute fair point.
Time there where Brett was able to use his skill to elevate him. He didn't need to
Brett was very politician-like in that sense. Owen was somebody that was always there. To be perfectly honest, Tom, WrestleMania 31, Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins, I was there for that WrestleMania back in 20. Another great match. I mean, since Seth's been a part of a few of them here. And I agree. Brett was dry. Yeah, Brett, he was the best. I'm going to put you in a sharpshooter. That was his thing here. R-Truth is immortal. Yeah, I mean, he's 51, and him and guys like him and Billy Gunn. I may get this for heat, but Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit. Yeah, no, I think Chris Benoit.
Early in their career, that was a match that was way done earlier in their career. If that was done a couple of years later, I think definitely they would get more recognition. That was done both.
Yeah, but they're never going to get recognition.
Not anymore. Maybe a couple of years after. But.
Right. That's the reason why it's not going to get recognition. He's definitely a stone. Yeah, I think everybody. Listen, it's like being a musician. Everybody steals from one another. I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
Professional wrestling, like you look at things that are stolen, like everything from Hogan, Austin, Rock.
Hey, Logan stole from superstar Billy Graham. I mean, listen, it's
how you connect with the crowd, how you can keep yourself going and get those reactions. Your ring work is only so much, but if you don't understand the psychology, how to get those reactions,
we could definitely talk about on Sunday's show. And I think that's where Soldier makes a point that Owen had the reaction of the crowd. He could work the crowd. Brett was, Brett was Picasso, but he didn't have.
You didn't see that till he had his feud with Shawn Michaels in '97, I would say.
Yeah, and we didn't have it for a long period. We didn't have it for a long period. Goldust. I'm wondering, will Goldust get into the Hall of Fame? That's certainly.
He deserves it. I think Triple H realized as well. He definitely
based on talent alone. Yeah, we've had this conversation so many times about Chris Benoit, and he's not going to get in. He's just not going to get in because of what happened. The first TLC match, good point. That's a great match. Absolutely, WrestleMania. That's a good one. Rhea versus Jade is what people are going to want here, and Chris Bethea. I forgot about that.
That's a good one, Chris.
That's a good. And I saw the Randy Savage biography at A&E, and they talked about how they wrote out the match like page by page. Benoit was mentioned there. The match between Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle, it was. I don't think it's an all-time great though. I want to get to obviously the rest of the team here. I know for the wrestling guys, I'm going to be on tomorrow. I'm actually going to be on with, if you actually, for real quick, before I get to, I'm actually going to be on with Ace Reed, who's the Backyard Wrestling Down Under World Champion in about 2 hours. So if you want to come back, I'll be on with him for a little while, but I will be back tomorrow to induct Omen and Soldier in the Hall of Fame. Then we'll have an open-ended New Year's show at 10 o'clock. So bring all your wrestling comments, bring them all in. But I want to get to your closing thoughts on wrestling before I bring in Justin and Rob Maraska and anything else you want to say.
Perfect, Tom. Thanks. I'll quick note of the NHL list, and this is the time of the season where teams are going to fall or not. We saw the Washington Capitals; they lost a few games. The New Jersey Devils are picking it up. The Edmonton Oilers win a few. This is now where we're going to see, can teams hang on to spot, or are teams going to fall and get on top? On wrestling note, I won't be on the show next week as I will be live at SmackDown in Vancouver. A big triple threat match ahead.
You'll give us the update. Maybe we'll see you Sunday. We'll talk about that. We can follow you on Instagram and Twitter at Randy Dillon. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah. No, exactly. And then AEW, listen, the one thing I always say about AEW, they can't put on a great television show, but they can put on a good pay-per-view. For World Ends tomorrow, going to be a good show.
And if you believe Meltzer, he was kind of slightly in a small way touting the fact that Dynamite beat a Best of Raw show, which nobody watched, and it went up against the Ravens and the 49ers. So really, people, that's here nor there. But a few more comments before I bring the guys on here. Yes, Rhodes and Reigns was a great match. Yeah. That I agree with you on. Yes, definitely for tomorrow. Hogan and Warrior, yes, that's another match we can definitely bring up. Goldust has his own wrestling school. Yes, he does now. Yes, you're actually right. I did see that on a podcast somewhere. And nothing Warrior did was ever good. Yeah, but Hogan and Warrior was a great match. Yeah. So everything else,
it was a big feud. It was something like
it's an important match. Yeah. All right, well, we'll thank everybody for the wrestling stuff. I want to bring in the regular guys here real quick because I know I've only got Rob Maraska here for a short amount of time. And guys, first of all, how you doing? I hope your Christmases were all well. And I wish everybody a happy new year for a little while here. I'm actually going to change the banner because now we have the regular Sportswire Radio. Because now we have the wrestling banner, but now we have the regular sports banner. But obviously, I teased it at the beginning. So I actually want to go right to the top before we get into some different things. So obviously, be aware of to the regular people here, also to the new people tuning into Sportswire Radio, we have this thing called the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, where we've been inducting people that have been important to the legacy of when we were the Sports Report, whether we were on SoundCloud.com, Skype calls, muffled phone conversations, to when we were a Sportinarium, to now where we are as Sportswire Radio with the website and professional lighting and banners, and obviously this worldwide audience. So obviously on Tuesday, we inducted one of our own, the first one of our own from the Sportswire team, in Ernest Dove, who's obviously been an accredited member of the media, covered Mets, the St. Lucie pass down there. And tomorrow night, we're inducting as the 7th and 8th members of the Hall of Fame, Soldier GP and Omen Black of the IMF. They're the hardcore and the world champions. But I wanted to induct the second person from our own here officially on Sportswire Radio, and that is Rob Maraska. Rob, congratulations. You're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. You're getting the call. You've obviously been here almost since the very beginning. You've obviously been that devoted, loyal guy to the show. You've always been a loyal lieutenant, and, you've obviously always brought that analysis when it comes to the Mets and different things. So congratulations. You'll be the second member of the Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll do a little brief ceremony speech next week on the show, and congratulations.
Thanks, Tom. I'm definitely honored, and I appreciate it. I was there almost in the beginning when we were on SoundCloud.
Yeah, we were on SoundCloud. For those that don't know, we used to do this on Skype calls. We'd have people calling on the phone.
That's
right. We recorded on Skype, and we were on, Randy would probably remember also, and we were on SoundCloud.com. We were the Sports Report. Then, we obviously got maybe the break of a lifetime and going into Sportinarium with the guys over there, and Steve Trenwell, and obviously Trevor Lakey, and Arthur Fox Smith, who the first ever black boxer to fight 100 times in England. But to where we are today in Sportswire, you've been there through it all. And as your cousin may want to say, you're the first senior citizen inducted, which actually, come to think about it, because Ernest, I don't think is quite there yet. Ernest.
Not yet. Yeah. But I want to congratulate Ernest, too. And Tom, it's an honor. I really appreciate it. Listen, you've come a long way with what you've done for Sportswire Radio. I mean, like I said, we were on SoundCloud. I forgot we were on Skype, too, in the beginning.
Yeah, we were on Skype. I mean, that's way back. Now everybody has video streams, and they have, chats. They can put banners in and lighting. But in those days, 5 years ago, just about, it was pretty basic. It was basically, okay, I'm going to record a show Friday afternoon. I'm going to basically block off all my time. Don't talk to me. And, we were going to have this show, and I had, make sure that everything was correct, everything was right, and nobody could talk, and blah, 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 blah. We'd have these phone calls on a car mount and try to record them in, and then download. It would take 3 hours to download the show, and then we would try to cut the audio. And, to now, where it is today, we've got 7 lights, we've got new logos, we've got banners, and that's where we are. And obviously the people have come. We've got almost 500 subscribers on YouTube, over 2,000 followers on Facebook, Instagram. We're working on that, and we have Threads now. And we're certainly out there. We're heard in many places. We're mentioned, I think, in like 7 different wrestling shows out there. And I want to thank some of the promoters out there: ROEW, WCE, IMF, certainly TBW, XCW. Obviously, our friends in CCW that have been with us through and through. Obviously, Legendary Backyard Wrestling and DBW. Can never forget about them. But all those different great companies and the many podcasts that have been with us. So yeah, it's a journey, but we're here, and you're a part of it.
Yeah, and it is a thrill, but I got to tell you, we have a great team here with Chris, Justin, Randy, Brute Force.
Brute Force, I got to be honest, Brute Force, I want to say he's on thin ice, but, he's got some explaining to do.
Yeah, but you leading us, and it's always fun, and I'm glad to be back. I had a couple of rough weeks with this sickness going around.
Yeah, everybody's getting COVID again. It's unfortunate.
But my voice is back, and I'm starting to feel okay. So, like I said, it's just a thrill. I'm excited, and I appreciate it. I really do.
Absolutely. And Randy, I wanted you to say for the announcement, obviously we will. I also want to say real quick, we will induct more people from the team soon. Stay tuned for details on that. So I will say that that's coming, but I wanted to make the moment here now. Obviously, also yesterday we inducted James Barris of CCW, Cutlery Championship Wrestling, and obviously it was an honor to induct him, our owner, and obviously also from TBW, Josh Allen, and Mr. Fletcher in XCW. So we're doing different wings, and I think that's important. We've also inducted, we haven't formally inducted them yet, but Jason Facina and Jason Gordieso of the 5-Town Sound and Malloy basketball teams. We will have the ceremony for that, but we'll definitely, have a few minutes on you for a little brief ceremony before we do the regular show, and we'll make that happen next Friday. And congratulations. And Randy, obviously, I know we're gonna move on here real quick for the rest of the show on different topics. I wanted you to stay with that, and thank you, Randy, for your hard work. I hope you have a happy New Year. We'll definitely see you in 2 weeks, and maybe Sunday actually.
Maybe Sunday, possibly, but 2 weeks for sure. And then Rob tonight. We are not, as they say in wrestling, we
never say never.
As our tribal chief for being inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Yes,
thanks, Randy.
We definitely acknowledge. All right, great stuff there. That's Randy Dillon. Randy, happy New Year. Maybe we'll see him Sunday. And yes, Rob is a walking encyclopedia of baseball. So Justin Gianelli is back. Justin has been obviously out for a couple of weeks. A lot of people have been sick, different things. And Ron's going to make an appearance on Sportswire soon. Look forward to that, Ron. We would definitely appreciate it. So obviously, I know we haven't spoke baseball in a while with Rob and Justin. We'll obviously let them get a chance to chime. I know, Rob, you're only going to be here for a little while, I would imagine. Then we'll move on I'm here for probably another maybe 60 or 70 minutes. Then we'll move on after that because I got to get ready for a second show. So we'll do some football with the guys in about 20, 25 minutes. But obviously, so what's going on here with this offseason? Rob Maraska, you haven't got a chance to chime in. I mean, the Mets have pretty much come up with goose eggs on most things. Yankees didn't get the full glass, and the Dodgers found ways to buy some of the players, and there's still some names out there. And what do you make of this offseason so far?
Yeah, well, the Dodgers are spending money, but let's remember, last year the Mets spent money too, and look what happened. You never know what's going to happen. You know what? They paid a lot of money, so I know Uncle Stevie, as they're saying, people are like pissed off, but I didn't expect the Mets to do a lot this offseason. They're making small moves. Severino, that signing was okay. Let's see what happens.
Lucas Giolito goes to the Red Sox, right? That was a guy the Mets were targeting, right? The 2-year deal.
Yeah, he signed a 2-year deal with the Red Sox.
Yep.
It's still off season. What's it, 55 days till spring training or something?
And it's less than like 90. I think Patrick and Chris mentioned on the Talking Rivals. Now we're less than about 90 days to the start of the season by now.
Yes, that's right. So we'll see what happens. The Mets, I didn't expect them to make really big moves. I thought that maybe Yamamoto. But you know what? I think the Dodgers are overpaying someone who we really don't know what's going to happen. Okay, a lot of times the pitchers from Japan do not make it in the major league. So we'll see what happens. You know what? The Mets, though, people are also complaining that they feel David Stearns is a small market president of baseball operations. We don't know if his hands are tied right now with the luxury tax. We don't know what's going to happen.
It didn't stop the Dodgers, though. Didn't stop them.
Definitely didn't stop the Dodgers.
Yankees still made a move or two. I mean, they got Soto. I mean, they're trying. I mean,
they
I don't
are
know
trying.
If that's going to fly.
I don't either. So far, it looks like the Mets are punting 2024, but we still have a little time.
And we'll let Justin talk about it in a second, but wasn't that the plan pretty much when we left the season? We did our exit stuff on baseball. Wasn't that the plan?
Yes, that was the plan. Wait for, be competitive in 2024.
Well, I mean, can't they be competitive? Diaz comes back, maybe get a bounce back year from McNeil. Alonso, you figure you still got Lindor, maybe Marte bounces back. I mean, you got Nimmo. I mean, if you can get a pitcher or two, I mean, can't you not be competitive?
No, they have a good core.
Yeah.
They have to, I mean, and I know Justin feels this way. They have to sign Alonso. I mean, let's not play any games. They have to sign him, or else the fan base is going to go nuts.
Well, Justin, let's bring Justin in. Justin hasn't been here in a couple of weeks. Good to see you, Justin. Hope you had a great Christmas and happy to be with you here once again. So, I mean, what do you make then of this Met off season? I mean, we haven't got a chance to talk about, Chris and myself have, but I mean, where does this team go from here now that we're going into really this second half of the off season and really the names that are out there? I don't know if they're, going to be Met targets.
First of all, it's great to be back, and I hope everybody had a great Christmas and hope everybody has a wonderful New Year. Listen, this offseason it's been kind of what I expected from the Mets. Obviously, their big target was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He chose the Dodgers. I don't think the luxury tax is that big of a burden because obviously they were willing to offer $325 million for Yamamoto. With that being said, I just think that they don't want to recklessly spend money, right? And I kind of agree with that approach, right? You're talking about what, 150 to 200 million for Jordan Montgomery. You're looking at over 200 million for Blake Snell. And those are just not moves that I'm comfortable with. And so where they go for their pitching, not sure. I also thought about 19 million. I think was the annual average value for the Giolito contract. That just went, I think it was like 2 years, 38.5 million or something like that.
He had a bad year last year. I mean,
he didn't have a bad year. He had a horrendous year, and to still get $19 million, I wouldn't have paid that even on a 2-year deal. I mean, that's just insane. I don't think he's as good as he used to be, but the Mets also now have to turn their attention elsewhere, right? They have to, they still have to figure out where else they're gonna turn to the rotation, because right now this rotation is just not good enough. Senga, Quintana, you signed Severino. We
spoke last week with Chris. There were guys out there. Michael Walker was out there, got a 2-year deal. Obviously, I guess we weren't bringing Lugo back. He got 3 years with the Royals.
Right. He got 50 and he got 50 in the year. I mean, that's just the going rate for starting pitchers. I mean, you get Adrian Hauser from the Brewers as well. And then you got the guys, like a McGill, like a Jose Buto, guys are compete for that back end. I think they signed one other pitcher that's slipping my mind right now, but they still need another starting pitcher. They definitely need a designated hitter. I saw John Heyman tweet out that they're interested in they're talking to JD Martinez, but he's also got a number of suitors. Justin Turner wouldn't be bad because he could be that DH. And you saw last year, 290 plus, drove in like 80 runs for the Reds.
96 RBI, right?
Yeah, 96 RBIs, over 20 home runs. Martinez had over 30 home runs last year.
Martinez is a name we've also talked about here with the Mets in the
past. And to me, what Turner can also bring is not just the bat at designated hitter, because clearly Turner's bat hasn't slowed down, but also the veteran wisdom and could be a very big mentor to Brett Beatty. And he wouldn't really necessarily be taking Beatty's time away because you really would want Turner at this point in his career to be more of a DH because his defense at third base really declined. And last year with Devers in Boston, he was never going to play third base all that much. Played more second and first if he got into the field. But the Mets need offense. They don't have a left fielder. I mean, you can't sell me on running this team back with a DJ Stewart, Nimmo, Marte outfield. I mean, there's just too many questions there, right? With the number of questions with Marte's health, I do think if fully healthy, Starling Marte is still a very productive player.
Yeah, listen, he was
as evidence in 2022.
Marte and the offense was good. Listen, the offense was right at the top in Major League Baseball 2 years ago. So if these guys come back, if McNeil bounces back, Marte bounces back, you automatically improve.
Yeah, to me right now, so they won 75 games a year ago. To me right now, if things in 2022, things leaned towards the extreme right, to the extreme high end of what the Mets were capable of. 2023 was the complete opposite, complete 180.
Right. Good point.
And to me, that was the extreme negative. To me, the Mets are somewhere in the middle. And yes, the pitching needs to be fixed. And that's really going to determine whether or not they can sneak in as a wild card team. Because we saw with the Diamondbacks last year and the Phillies, I think the year before won like 86 games and got to the World Series.
And the Diamondbacks won 84
this year. They won 84 games last year. So if you're telling me 85 wins is the target number, I'll tell you right now, this roster currently constructed, I'd have at around 80 right now.
Yeah, I think the going rate, I'm going to get to Chris in a second. I think what I've been hearing most predictions or most, if anybody listens to MLB Network on Sirius XM on the different shows, they seem to have the Mets kind of in the middle of the pack this year. Maybe somewhere between, like you said, 78 and 84 wins. Flip a coin that. So Chris, obviously I heard the Met end of it. You've been here the last few weeks. So is there anything else you're watching off-season and Yankee-wise? Giolito signs today. And that was a name that was bandy-hooed. I mean, certainly did not have a good year at all last year. But again, Justin makes a great point. The going rate for middle of the rotation, back-end guys is what he got. So, I mean, like, what else are you expecting? I mean, I realistically don't think Snell is coming to both teams. Montgomery, we spoke about. I don't know if I see that. So what's next for the Yankees and these other free agents out there?
I mean, I think the Yankees still got to add another pitcher, at least for their rotation. I think the big rumor would be bringing back Montgomery, but if you see Giolito making, almost $20 million a year, I mean, how much is Montgomery going to get? He's going to get close to $30 million.
I guess was it Patrick on the show?
Honestly,
yeah.
Was it on your show that Patrick made the point that the Red Sox still could actually spend some money, and maybe this is where they kind of spent the money here because they had money coming off the books, and this is why you make it take a gamble here with a Giolito. I mean, listen, Lugo got $15 million, right? So I mean, Giolito, if you're desperate, 2 years, 38, it's still under 3 years.
They need more pitching though. The Red Sox are desperate for pitching too. I mean, they got tons of question marks in their rotation, so I think they still got to add more on top of Giolito. I mean, Giolito, what is he, right? I mean, he was pretty bad. Like Justin said, he was really bad last year. Supposedly, the reason why he was bad was because he was going through a divorce, and then he got traded 2 times.
I think I heard Jim Duquette say, well, the last couple of starts, he pitched better. He figured it out. Maybe that's – it's a stretch to me to say that.
Right. I mean, what could he be, a 3 or a 4 at best at this point? So
at best, honestly.
Yeah. But I still think the Yankees need to add an arm for the rotation, and I think they need one more for the bullpen. So, Jordan Hicks is still out there for the bullpen. I would love for them to get him. And for the rotation, to bring back Montgomery.
And then how did you feel about Kiner Falefa going to the Blue Jays, a team that's been so desperate for anything? I mean, what a letdown for their fan base, right? That's your big free agent signing. I mean, a guy that's hit 240 the last 2 years. I mean,
I thought Bellinger was the perfect fit there until they re-signed Kiermaier because they need a left-handed power bat in that lineup, and he could have played center field. So that obviously didn't go, but. I don't mind IKF going. I didn't see a role for him on the Yankees because I think they see Cabrera as the super utility guy that's going to play everywhere. So, but I like IKF. I just don't like him as like the starting shortstop on the team.
Right.
I like him more as the utility player, and hopefully that's where he'll slide in with the Blue Jays.
We'll have to find out. Also, Matt Chapman's out there also still as a free agent.
Yeah, I would stay away from him.
He's a great defender, but he's so inconsistent at the plate.
Totally
Chris makes a great point about Cody Bellinger. We haven't heard a single thing about Cody Bellinger being linked anywhere. I mean, do
you think that is because prior to this year, he had essentially 3 really bad years? And if I'm a team, do I really want to open the checkbook for a guy that
you're kind of stuck at a catch-22 here, because you have the former MVP of 2019, the former Rookie of the Year from 2017, but 2020 he was like okay. He gets hurt in the NLCS when he celebrated the home run with Kike Hernandez, and in 21 and 22 were just so incredibly awful. The Dodgers couldn't wait to get rid of him. I mean, and you look at what they got in center field from James Outman this year. Yeah, not quite the power production Bellinger can provide you, because he can provide you with the power, the speed, the defense in center field, the ability to play first base. I mean, Cody Bellinger does a lot. The problem for me is, Cody Bellinger, I don't want to commit to more than 2 years with him. And
he might want 4 at this point.
No. He's going to want like 6. He's going to want like 6 or 7. He's going to want like 6 or 7. And I was just reading a few minutes ago, he and his camp are seeking over $200 million. So I mean,
I have a problem with that, because you said 21 and 22. This guy hit 21 less than 200 last year. He just bats over 200.
And the true catch-22 is people don't exactly know what he is. Is he the player from last year that resembled more like the MVP Rookie of the Year, Cody Bellinger, or is he 2021 or 2022 Bellinger? Where does that player officially lie?
And you know what? The Cubs are another team, talking about with Toronto. The Cubs are another team. They've done nothing.
Yeah. And I would think with the Cubs,
they've lost Bellinger.
And the Cubs,
I don't replace that guy.
I would think with the Cubs,
I think they're still in play to bring him back, because they don't have a real set center field situation right now.
Right.
Obviously, Toronto decided they're going to re-sign Kiermaier and let him play center field, but ultimately, I don't know. I don't know.
Speaking of the Cubs, real quick, I got to throw this in. We're speaking with Justin Gianelli, Chris Pizzea. Chris is also the co-host of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Robs, which you're hearing both shows this weekend here on Sportzwire Radio. Justin is also the host of the Baseball Banter Show, and Rob Marosco, our newest member of the Sportzwire Radio Hall of Fame, to get a formal ceremony Friday night. We're on the air. But speaking of the Cubs, there's another guy out there, speaking of pitching help, and he's actually from our area, and one team in Citi Field had him before, and that's Marcus Stroman. And why do you think Marcus Stroman hasn't gone? Here's a guy that's had some big success and, would fit the bill as a number 1, or certainly easily a number 2. And I would say he's had more success than a Blake Snell throughout his career. And why hasn't he signed?
You know why. He is
pretty obvious, honestly.
Clubhouse cancer.
Got to ask it here on Sportswire. I still got to ask the question. That's
clubhouse cancer. He's a clubhouse cancer.
Oh, I know about that. We have a guest coming on 3 weeks from now that was labeled anti-trans, anti-women. And I'm like, we're a sports show. We don't have anything to do with that. They were kind of like, in a way, like doing a Marcus Stroman and a Kurt Schilling to us. And I'm like, we don't have anything to do with that. We're just talking to the guest because he was a wrestler. So, that does happen. That certainly people look at people's stuff, off the field, and I don't want to get in the middle of that.
Listen, on paper, he would be a great addition for basically any team, right?
Absolutely.
Boston, right?
And he's proven. This guy's been a proven. That's why I was wondering what you guys thought on Stroman.
He's proved that in New York. He's from Long Island.
He's pitched in big games.
He's had a good career. I mean, despite what
the WBC, he had that big start in the WBC.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, this is
he's pitched in big games too. The playoffs. He's had a couple of playoff starts. So
you really think about his career? What did he have? One bad season? One?
Yeah. He slots in perfect as a 3 or maybe a 2. But
I think in this he's a 2. I really think he's a 2, but definitely it'd be a great 3. But the point is like, I'm surprised even the Yankees. Didn't he want to be a Yankee years back?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to be a Yankee instead of a Met. That's definitely.
Well, I'm surprised that why Stroman hasn't signed because
I think there's just in this day and age where players move around like crazy. I think all these ex-teammates end up getting spread out and play for other teams, and I think there's a bad rap with Marcus Stroman, and he's just he might possibly be one of the worst teammates in all of baseball.
I think
he's not somebody that's easy to deal with either, and he's not afraid
tough.
to fire back either.
But he'd be
an easy sign, right? I mean, look, if you look at the back of his baseball card, he's an easy this guy.
Listen, great. 77 wins, 3.5 ERA. He pitches, 25, 30 starts a year, only injured, 1 year, really, a year and a half in his career. I mean, let's leave aside the COVID run.
Even that year he got hurt. And even that year he got hurt, it was like late in spring training or first week of the season. He rehabbed his ass off to get back and pitch in the postseason for the Blue Jays. That was 2015.
Correct.
Giolito got $19 million, and he had like a 5 ERA.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. I mean, like Marcus Stroman's a guy that I would think that if I'm a team contending, that I would want, and I have to throw it out there. I mean, I haven't heard anything on Noah Syndergaard out there. Anything on Noah? I'm just, people are desperate.
I was thinking the other day about him because I seen his name in the free agency thing. I'm like, you know what? You know what he'd be good as? Throw him in the bullpen. Give him like an inning or two a game and be that type of pitcher.
Yeah, Rob, we knew a guy that used to actually advocate for that about 5 or 6 years ago. He was saying that he should be in the bullpen, and maybe that's the case. But yeah, Giolito, again, the body of work, far less is Stroman's, and he got a big deal. And, obviously we'll have to see. But if you are on Sportswire, before we get to a few more things in baseball, we're on sportswireradio.org, our brand new website. If you have a podcast, if you want to play live music, if you want to get your chance to be heard here, you can do that anytime with us by getting in touch here with us. We have a brand new website. We also have a section for our Hall of Fame. We'll add Rob's picture to that. We'll certainly do that during the week. We also have a blog now, which you can catch here on tumblr.com at sportswireradio.org. Obviously, we've been using it mostly to announce our different people that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. But people want to write, they want to share their opinions, they're welcome to that. You also want to check us out on YouTube, past, present, and future Sportswire Radio shows. We're at Sportswire Radio 6579, and we're almost at 500 subscribers. So we have definitely been moving up the ladder. We're on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. We have over 2,000 followers there. Our Sportswire Radio page has almost 700 followers, so we are definitely doing a lot. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of Low Wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station. I want to give a big shout out to all of our great shows that are with us here on Sportswire throughout this year, such as the Talking Rivals. Patrick Trotty, who's been with us here in the past. He's Chris's co-host. Charmin Phillip with the Liftoff Jets, the Baseball Banter, the Hockey Fan Chat with Randy Dillon, the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted all by the different Yankee guys, the Upper Deck Podcast, Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind, the Sit Down Marks, a work in progress, the Wrestle Rares. Although we had this guy, Frank, he did 2 shows, and who knows where the hell the guy is, but he was here with us. Thank you for your efforts. Wrestling with the Truth, obviously, BC Hunter, we hope to have him back. Grappling with Canada with the Tax Man, always with us, giving receipts from one of our own Hall of Famers, of course, Josh Fletcher, the owner of XCW, with obviously ACT, their world champion. They have that show. So we have a lot of great shows out there. You can check them out on our website, and also 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So obviously, I know, Rob, you got a little more time with us, and I do want to segue to football because I really only got about 50 or 55 minutes left. So Hall of Fame is coming up to vote. I eventually expect to be on the Talking Rivals because I have an announcement there on the Talking Rivals. So I don't think it's going to happen this week coming up, but next week I think we should finally be able to get that done. But I got to ask you guys, Hall of Fame, I think on the current class that's just in their first year, Adrian Beltre's at the top of the list. Although oddly, it seems to me that Chase Utley is doing way better than I think any people would have ever anticipated. I didn't think Chase Utley was a Hall of Famer, but I guess people have different interpretations, and I still don't think he'll get in. Then we've got these guys, and Chris and I have spoken about it. I'm curious on Rob and Justin, because I know in a few weeks we'll certainly talk about this when we have the Friday show, the 12th of January, when the class of 24 is inducted. But we got Todd Helton, who's right on the edge. You got Billy Wagner, an ex-Met, right on the edge. And you got guys like Andrew Jones, who seem to be making this case. And then you've got a guy like Gary Sheffield last year on the ballot, former Met and Yankee, whose body of work should dictate he's a Hall of Famer, but there's different things out there. So I ask you guys, I mean, who's getting in this year? Adrian Beltre, I would think, would have to be a slam dunk. But what about these guys like who are right on the border, literally, in Billy Wagner, Todd Helton, and maybe some thoughts on Andrew Jones and also Gary Sheffield's last year on the ballot?
Yeah, well, Adrian Beltran, yes. I think he's got the I think he's the one who may, make it in.
I would think so, right? 3,000 plus hits.
Yeah, really.
He did, yeah.
He's an automatic, Beltre.
Yeah, he's an automatic. Now, Sheffield, 500 home runs, but this is his last year of eligibility, right? So, he has his son really out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what the early votes so far, he's close, but I don't think he's going to make it. Am I right on that? I don't think he gets in.
I think he's right on the border.
Yeah, right, he's on the border. I don't know what you guys think about Andrew Jones. I mean, he had a couple of excellent years.
Well, defensively, I think we were talking about this on the show last week, and we spoke about him before. I think defensively is what's getting him in, and this new way of viewing analytics is probably going to get him in. Am I missing something on that? Am I missing something on Andrew Jones? Does he get in? Because I think eventually he does get in because of this
I think the average. I think obviously the first half of his career, he's Hall of Famer.
Phenomenal.
It was the second half, the average, dropped, and but I still think he should get in. I mean, the guy's got 10, 11 Gold Gloves in center field?
10 Gold Gloves, hit 50 home runs in a season, 400 plus home runs. Definitely was the best defensive center fielder, maybe of the generation. Certainly offensively, a lot to be desired. I do think in this new case of younger writers' analytics, he's getting a second look, but maybe he gets in. I don't think he's getting in this year, but Sheffield's an interesting one. I think that he would probably on the stats get in. He wasn't quite a steroid guy, but he was mentioned in the Mitchell report, but he seems to certainly suffer from that, and it seems I would think he probably falls just short, guys. Am I missing anything on that?
Yeah. You're probably right. I think. What do you think, Justin? I think he falls short.
Yeah, I do think he falls short, and I'm looking at here. So a great follow is Ryan Thibodeau at not Mr. Tibbs on Twitter /X.
Yeah,
he gets it updated pretty regularly, and this was 5 hours ago with 81 ballots revealed. Mm-hmm. Here are some of the leaders in the clubhouse right now. Beltre has gained 97.5% of the vote.
Okay. We knew that.
Joe Mauer, 82.7%.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Joe Mauer's off to a strong start. I don't think ultimately that's going to be enough. Helton's at 80.2. I do think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, Helton.
Right now, my guess would be Beltre and Helton.
And where is Wagner right now?
Wagner is the fourth and final player currently over the 75% threshold. Ooh. Currently, he sits at 76.5.
Well, he's close.
So Wagner is, I think, going to be dangerously close. And I think he's just going to be on the outside looking in.
That reminds me of an election I worked on that was decided by 13 votes. He might actually
make it closer.
The first guy out right now is Sheffield at 72 point.
Yeah, I think Sheffield's going to drop.
Carlos Beltran at 66.7.
I think Beltran's going to be in the 50s and Sheffield's in the low 60s. What are you going to say?
I think closers should get more acknowledgement by the Hall of Fame, especially with how the bullpen has evolved over the years, especially now how important the closer role and the bullpen is. So I hope a guy like Billy Wagner, even what's his name, Frankie Rodriguez should get in.
Craig Kimbrell's going to be one we talk about when he retires for sure. Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah.
Then do you guys think John Franco should be in the Hall of Fame since you mentioned in these other guys?
No.
No saves for a lefty.
John Franco's not a Hall of Famer, though.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
but I'm just saying.
He's not a Hall of Famer, though.
Right?
He's not. He was not dominant, though. He was not a dominant. He was
And the thing is, like, when I compare him to some of the other guys, it's just like, all right, who do I think's better? Franco's got the numbers, but like, if I just put Billy Wagner versus John Franco, I'd rather have Billy.
Billy Wagner. I mean, had more.
And to me, it's absolutely criminal that we're still talking about Billy Wagner for the Hall of Fame. This should have been done a couple of years ago. It's not like we're inducting 5 guys every
He's got more
year.
strikeouts than Mariano Rivera. He ended his final season with an ERA under 2. He was dominant for his whole career. I love Franco, obviously local guy, grew up in the Marlboro Projects. But at the end of the day, I didn't look at John Franco and said, yeah, that guy was, and he played in the same time as Dennis Eckersley, Trevor Hoffman, Mariano Rivera, all those great closers. He's later
got the longevity, but he doesn't have like you said, the dominance. And does he have like the postseason numbers you want to see?
No.
That some of these other guys put
up?
Yeah,
exactly.
By the time he got into the postseason, he wasn't a closer.
Right.
I know he's got the 400 plus save. I don't see him like Lee Smith. I don't see Craig Kimbrell today. You mentioned, Frankie Rodriguez. There's a lot of closers that, I just, to me, K-Rod, I don't see it that Franco's in there. Wagner, to me, I think
I think it's absolutely criminal that we're still having this discussion.
Definitely.
I mean, this should have been done years ago. I mean, to me,
he's probably again suffering off the field.
To me, when the Mets got him, that really signaled how serious they were at winning because
absolutely,
obviously we know about the struggles that the Mets went through the last couple years before that with Braden Looper as their closer, and once they got Billy Wagner, you just felt so much better about the end of the game. And you think about the confidence we have as Met fans because we have Edwin Diaz as closer, and even coming off of this major knee injury, you have this supreme confidence that Edwin Diaz is going to slam the door shut. And you had that feeling with Wagner that 9 times out of 10, he was going to get the job done. And Billy Wagner just was such a tough pitcher to hit.
Let me just bring it up because I know in the interest of time, Joe Mauer, who, again, won 3 batting titles. Now, obviously, 3 batting titles for a catcher is certainly unheard of. He won an MVP.
Yeah.
Had 2,100 plus hits, 143 home runs, very low, 923 RBIs, 388 OBP, 439 slugging. So his OPS is 827, 1,018 runs scored. I mean, Joe Mauer,
we got to remember his peak as a catcher, he was the best catcher in the league, and he was arguably the best player in the league in his peak. Obviously, when he got switched to first base, he wasn't the same player. But for those 7-8 years, I mean, you're talking about the best catcher in the league.
5 times an All-Star? Joe Mauer, another guy that – I don't know.
And he stayed with the Twins his whole career. That's got that.
Yeah. The 3 batting titles. I don't know. What do you say, Justin?
He doesn't have the.
So to me, he's got to get in. To me, he's got to get in within the first 3 to 4 years of his eligibility if he's going to get to the Hall of Fame. Because once Buster Posey goes on the ballot, and this was Buster Posey's first year out of baseball, so now the clock is started on Buster Posey. Once Buster Posey goes on that ballot, there's no way you're voting for Joe Mauer because Buster Posey trumps everything Joe Mauer did and more. He's a 3-time world champion. He was no doubt the best catcher in baseball during his era. I don't feel like Joe Mauer's a Hall of Famer.
I agree with you.
I can say with certainty.
I don't either.
And I can say with certainty, Buster Posey's a Hall of Famer.
To me, I look at Mauer the same way I look at Andrew Jones, right? For their first part of their careers, no doubt Hall of Famers. The second half, obviously not.
3 batting. He's got 3. The 3 batting titles is big. I think that's
absolutely. And I don't know if you guys remember how good Mauer was for the first part of his career when he was a catcher.
It was
the first half of his career. The Twins. I know they didn't win in the playoffs at all, but
they always faced these Yankees.
But they were in the postseason. They had good teams. So I would say, the body of work would say, he's got 3 Gold Gloves. He's got, I think, 4 Silver Sluggers. He's got the 1 MVP. I would say probably he got 6 years. I'd say, that guy was definitely a Hall of Famer. He had 3 years. He won the batting title. He hit 320, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in his career. That says something. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Another guy though on the border. I mean, he'll probably get in because of the way people will view it as a catcher from that position. The 3 batting titles will probably put him over the finish line. But I think I think Billy Wagner to me should get in first. Yeah. But Joe Mauer, I don't know if he gets in this year, but he'll probably come so close that he might make it, next year or the following year. I mean,
like I said, I think they'll take 2 this year. I think they'll take Todd Helton. I'm hoping 3 because I'm hoping they take Wagner as well. But Wagner's like he's teetering.
I feel like
how stupid
these writers are because Wagner has 1 more year on the ballot, right? He has 1 more year.
Yeah,
they're going to induct him next year to stupidly make him wait because
isn't Todd Helton nearing the end too?
Yes, but I think he's got a couple more years over Wagner.
Okay, I also think Todd Helton's nearing the end.
Well, Helton, we spoke about Helton a lot on sports. Well, I think Helton at the end of the day is a Hall of Famer. I mean, I know the ballpark, they knock him on, but I think
I do too.
Yeah,
I think he's a Hall of Famer.
316 average, the 539.
Really, really good. One of the best first basemen in the league.
Yeah, I think his career, I would say you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of 100 runs batted in. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of 30 home runs, 2 years of 200 hits. You led the league in doubles. You got 592 lifetime doubles. Yeah, I talk about him every year on this show. 1,400 runs scored, 1,400 RBIs, 930, 53
and
OPS.
You can't hold Coors Field against him. I mean, that's his home
They
park.
tried to
and guess what? He didn't sign there. He got drafted there and played his whole career there.
Right.
I guess what hurts
that holds a lot of weight too.
I think what hurt Helton was that the last few years of his career, he definitely didn't finish strong. But I think that body of work.
I think another thing that hurt him were the writers because
for sure.
You tell me this is his so he's 5-time All-Star, but 2000. You tell me, and this was the year Jeff Kent won the National League MVP for the Giants.
And he almost won the Triple Crown, right?
He should be in the Hall of Fame too, by the way.
Yeah, that's another disgrace.
And almost hit 400, Todd
another
Helton,
disgrace.
Right, that year?
Yeah.
But the 2000 Todd Helton led the National League in hits with 216, led the majors in doubles with 59, batting champion 372, led the majors in RBIs with 147, hit 42 home runs, a National League high 463 OBP. 698 slugging and a league high 1.162 OPS. And he finished 5th in the MVP voting.
The team wasn't any good.
Those are MVP numbers.
Oh, I agree. The team wasn't any good, and that's what it was. But I mean, he hit 358, 347, 336. I mean, Helton.
He was a pure hitting machine.
Yeah, I think in the 316 average, I've spoke about him for my 5 years, and that's a guy I think will probably get in this year. I can't guarantee it, but he'll probably get nudged over the finish line. Wagner, I mean, it's really going to be decided, I hate to say it, by 13 votes, give or take. And, it's going to be that. And then they'll probably put him in next year, but that's kind of
probably. So you're looking at Beltre and Helton, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Wagner should get in. I don't think Jones should get in yet. Mauer, I don't think Mauer gets in this year. That number is high to me, 80%. I think it'll come down because the old guard won't vote him in. I don't know if Mauer's a Hall of Famer, to be honest, but he's got a strong case. But I guess we'll have to find out and see.
The old guard probably appreciates Mauer more than the newer.
Maybe. I don't know. It's interesting because Mauer, I mean, guys like me and Justin
have the gaudy numbers that everybody, because if you're just looking at his numbers, you're thinking, he's not that good.
Well, guys like me and Justin saw Mauer's entire career. You can photographically memorize it. So I guess for a 5 or 6 year period, he was the definition of a Hall of Famer, but it's like he's another tantalizingly close.
Up until he hit 30, like after he hit 30, right? That's when he started to kind of...
About 20.
But before that, he was like three and change every single year.
Yeah, I mean, he the career ends at 306. He was at one point in the 320s, so it's definitely a drop off. That
that's what the new guard looks at. The new guard just looks at OBP, all that stuff. They don't look at this guy.
827.
When you look at Mauer, his first 7-8 years.
Oh,
he was the premier catcher in the
up
league
until about 2012, 2013, and that's when the drop off starts. But yeah,
that's why I think the old guard puts him in more than the new guard.
388 on base percentage. Fourth, the slugging's low. I mean, listen, the 3 batting titles. If you ask me, gun to my head, 3 batting titles and 1 MVP will probably get him over the finish line. Just to me, in the same way that Helton's 2000 season and then the 2 other years underneath it, like 03, 04, that he had the 5 to 6 year window, will probably just nudge him over the finish line. And Wagner, that's to me an abomination. That has to be
get in.
off the field.
And just remember, for 2025, you already have 1 lock on the ballot. Because that will be Ichiro's first year.
Oh yeah, well that's
that's a lot.
Not even a discussion there. But Rob, obviously,
the only discussion is a unanimous.
Who gives 100? But there's
exactly
won't vote for him. That'll just you watch some knucklehead.
Listen, Beltre should be a unanimous when you look at him.
He ended his career. I mean,
absolutely.
He ended his career
top 5 third baseman of all time.
And all time as a player, the guy ended his career.
Incredible hitter, the power.
Extremely good. But Rob, I know obviously you're gonna run. I want to spend a little bit of time on football because I don't have that much time left. So obviously, congratulations again on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. We'll certainly I'll get a picture from you. We'll certainly put that on our website, and obviously we'll do a little few minutes on you. We'll let some of the guys come in and join with that for the ceremonies. We'll do that here at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Friday next week. That's where we'll have a couple of minutes of a ceremony with you. We'll do that here, but obviously I want to wish you a happy new year. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and congratulations again for your hard work. And we'll also send you a certificate as well. We're doing for the Hall of Fame. So those that are watching and hearing this, we have made certificates for those who get inducted into the Hall of Fame. So eventually, when you're on this show here and you're on one of the people here on the Sportswire shows as a regular, that's what you actually get. My signature's on there, our logo. I wrote it and we've done it, so you'll get something when you get inducted. So, but Rob, obviously, I want to give you the floor. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? And the floor is yours. And congratulations.
I just want to say once again, thanks a lot, Tom. I'm honored. I love the show, love the station.
We love it more than Brad Weiss. Who I hate to say it, not professional, not professional. I'm sorry, Brad. Not professional at all.
When I'm sick and injured and I can't be on, it bums me out.
You message, I can't be here, where Brad Weiss can't message. I'm going to be here and can't message. But he can put on his Instagram page, Plainview JFK, and level up basketball. And Kelly Dempsey. That's unprofessional. You always professional.
Thank you. And, you guys, I love you guys. This is a great team. And, once again, thanks, Tom. I'm looking forward to next week. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm going to check out your New Year's Eve show for a little while also.
Yeah, people are definitely welcome. They want to hang out, say hi. I figure, it ain't going to Times Square. There's a lot of people that want to talk.
Definitely.
So, definitely come by, and anybody's welcome to share anything they want. It could be wrestling, could be news stories of the year, whatever it might be. Everybody's welcome. You can follow Rob on Twitter at @rmaraska, also Rob Maraska on Facebook. I hope you continue to get well. And I'll see you Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern time, to induct you into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. I don't know what number you'll be at because I actually have a few more of these. I think I have 1 or 2 more after number 8. So I don't know. I can't say if you're 9, 10, or 11, but you'll be somewhere in that category. So
sounds good. And thanks a lot. And Happy New Year's, guy.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that was Rob Maraska, our longest tenured analyst, newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. So obviously in the time, I've got about 30, 35 minutes or so here. Let's obviously run into some football here. And I got to ask you guys, I'll go into a few games, but Joe Flacco, I don't know how to explain this here. I mean, we had him as a Jet, and the guy looked like he couldn't even throw the ball. All of a sudden, he's on the couch for almost, I think, 2/3 of the season. And now all of a sudden, since he's turned into the second coming of Tom Brady, and the Cleveland Browns, despite all the things they've went through with the amount of money they've spent on quarterbacks, have clinched a playoff spot. And the New York Jets, once again, are going to have the offseason that they're going to have. So you got to explain to me, guys, Joe Flacco.
Okay, Justin, you try.
You know what? It's quite unexplainable, to be honest. But you know what this tells me? Kevin Stefanski, hands down, NFL Coach of the Year. I mean,
I
there's
think
no two ways about it.
No question about it.
And last night is a perfect perfect synopsis of the Jets 2023 season, right?
Yeah.
You could see the perfect. The Jets and the Browns are essentially twins in terms of the number of injuries, the number of quarterbacks they've had to go through. And you know what? The Browns have overcome it all. Jack Conklin went down early in the season. Nick Chubb went down early in the season. Jedrick Wills, the other tackle, went down. So they're missing both tackles. Their quarterback went down to Deshaun Watson. Their other two quarterbacks just didn't get the job done. And, Thompson Robinson also got hurt as well. But P.J. Walker was ineffective. And then they bring in Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco's all of a sudden getting it done behind a makeshift offensive line. What team does that sound like? The Jets. The Jets have a makeshift offensive line. They've run through like 12 different combinations of a starting five. And for the Jets to continue to get the incompetent quarterback play just speaks to how poor the coaching is. It really does. I mean, you can't give me talent anymore when you look at the Browns and you see an 11-5 team. Last night they didn't play like it because I think some business decisions were made. I think guys are just now trying not to get hurt. But for most of the year, you could say the Jets and Browns defenses were on par with each other. The Jets will play great defense all year long. The Browns have played great defense all year long. Jets lose their starting quarterback 4 plays in, and they kept running with Zach Wilson when Zach Wilson couldn't get the job done. It's A, Wilson himself, but B, it's also the coaching staff. And I can't – and it's hard to beat a dead horse, right? Everybody's coming back next year. That's what's already been decided because
they got 6 wins this year.
That's what Rodgers want. But guess what? If they lose to New England, that's a 1-win decrease from last year. They were 7-10 last year, and they're going to be 6-11 this year.
We almost I think you said it in the Sportswire Radio Twitter group, almost in a way, and I think our buddy who also has kind of a podcast with us, the Jet Up Bleeding Green podcast, Mr. Michael Palace. Maybe you're rooting for the Jets to lose next Sunday because
why not?
The draft position, no?
Yeah, I could care less at this point, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what? I could care less at this point because you know what?
This game.
But 7 wins instead of 6, doesn't that make a couple of picks difference in the draft?
Absolutely.
Of course it is. But at the same time, last night was not the Browns being better than the Jets. It was the Jets not playing.
Was that a carryover from nearly blowing the lead against Washington? I mean, that was an abomination.
No. I think guys at this point in the season look at the body of work that they've put in this season and say, I'm clocking out for the night because you know what? I don't want to have an off season of rehab.
Right.
CJ Mosley on that. First drive, 3rd and 15, 40 yards. David Njoku on a little tight end screen that he rumbles for 40 yards. How? And CJ Mosley looks like he's running a quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Mosley has been the leader of this defense all year long. And if the leader of the defense is starting to do that, that's a big problem. And they've talked all season long about not having Sauce Gardner's shadow. So all of a sudden they admit last night that the plan was for Sauce to shadow Cooper and then they find out he's inactive. I think that's just a lazy excuse for the Jets to say, "Oh, we tried something different, but it didn't work out in the game plan because said receiver didn't play." Fine, you know what? Go shadow Elijah Moore because Elijah Moore was tearing the Jets up in the first half.
Right, they couldn't even do that.
And David Njoku was tearing them up in the first half.
Yep.
Couldn't put a body on him. And I don't think it'll carry over to next year. But I think we have to be honest with ourselves. DJ Reed's been pretty bad this last month of the season. He's been pretty bad. He's gotten carved up.
Oh, he's getting exposed.
Now let me get to. I got a ton of comments here, and I want to get to a number of people here. So, Ron wants to say we're ready for Sunday night. He's talking about Packers Vikings. We'll definitely try to get on that. TBK says the Jets where QBs go to die. LOL. Laugh out loud. So that's hopefully Aaron Rodgers can still throw good next season. Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah, let's hope so.
He also complains about TBK's Baltimore Ravens, who certainly put a thumping on the San Francisco 49ers. John Gonzalez, the Brute wants. Well, the Brute kind of in a way, kind of like what Ron had to say here. Basically, he's old news, the brute force Brad Weiss right now. He's old news on Sportswire, and he's a disappearing act because, John, as you may or may not know, which I know you're going to be making sure you defend the brute force, he actually said he was going to show up and didn't show up. So, that's here nor there, but obviously good to be with you once again. I can tell every time I see Aaron's face, he's not happy being a Jet. I wouldn't be either. Also, well, I mean, again, like Tommy DeVito, the brute force Brad Weiss, I mean, he's not playing. So, but, let's talk about them overrated Ravens, shall we? I want the apology louder than Mike Florio's.
You know what? He hasn't been on the show in a while, but I forget when it was, but that was the week I said these Ravens are for real, and this team is for real. They have arguably one of the best defenses in football, and another team that's made it work through injuries. Right, the number of injuries that they've gone through.
Yep, on offense.
On offense, I mean, you lose J.K. Dobbins early in the season to an Achilles. You just lost Keaton Mitchell, who would provide a nice spark. We still got Hill and Edwards. And to me, it's hands down Lamar Jackson's the MVP of this league. I mean, Lamar Jackson.
I think that
it's going to be tough. I think CMC's got it though. That guy.
I have a hard time seeing
every game.
I have a hard time seeing a non-quarterback at the MVP. I think it'll be Lamar Jackson. The Ravens.
If it happens, it'll be this year.
To me, the Ravens, and I think, and I'm sure we'll talk about this game in a little bit against Miami. To me, the biggest game of the week. I think the Ravens are going to steamroll the Dolphins.
I'd be shocked if the Dolphins could win because it's a road game.
And
Miami's not.
Chris,
on the beat a good team, and they can't win.
Miami hasn't beaten anybody. I mean, who is okay? Beat Dallas.
Miami to me is Dallas.
That's
Miami and Dallas are the same team.
And Miami beat Dallas by a field goal.
Right, but they can't win a big game, and they can't win on the road.
100%. And not just beating the Niners, they beat the Niners on the road in Santa Clara, and they beat them down.
Yep,
they beat them down, and I think that's going to. I think we're going to see that again this week, and they do what they want. And look at the injury to Andrews as well. Isaiah Likely has stepped up as their number one tight end, and Jackson still has that trust where he could go to him as a security blanket. So, I mean,
but here's the thing:
you can't tell me the Ravens right now are not the favorites to come out of the AFC.
I definitely think so, but you got to remember the Ravens, and more specifically, Lamar Jackson has that monkey on their back about winning a big game in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So who would you say that other than Baltimore? Who would you say right now that
there isn't? That's the thing. Like every team in both leagues, not just the AFC, but the NFC. Every team is either A, flawed, or B.
Yeah, I would
has something to prove in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I think,
and that's why it's wide open in both conferences.
And that's what the league wanted.
I can see. Getting back to the Browns. The Browns have that feeling, for me at least, with Joe Flacco. They're making me feel like they're like the Eagles from 2017 with Nick Foles.
Well, if Joe Flacco goes to the Super Bowl,
that's
franchise, wow,
it's not wrong though. Cleveland's defense is that good. Cleveland's defense can win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really can. And to me, I was more impressed with what I saw out of Baltimore than any kind of concern I had for San Francisco. To me, San Francisco is still the team in the NFL with the fewest weaknesses in the league.
Yeah, but you don't think though that
the Ravens too. I think the Ravens don't really have a
performance though. I do want to get to real quick. Ron says he likes to take the brute force's place. So you know what, Ron? If you want to take the brute force Brad Weiss's place, you have my Instagram. Get in touch with me on Instagram. You want to be on the show next week? Let me know, and we'll have you on because obviously he's definitely old news. So yeah, Ron, definitely let us know, and we'll have you about that. Ethan has a wrestling comment, and I think Ron answered it. Yeah, we'll do wrestling tomorrow. We're gonna later on. I'm here for about 25 minutes, but yeah, right now we're doing football. But thank you, Ethan, as always for your support, and I appreciate that. As I said, Lamar has never had the trust or weapons that he has now. Flowers is an absolute stud, likely has stepped up huge. Plus, Andrews on the mend and potentially makes his way back.
I don't know that you're going to see Andrews back, but he hits on the other 2 points. Absolutely.
Yep.
Zay Flowers has been absolutely incredible, likely stepping up. Even Odell Beckham's been pretty good too. this definitely is the best cast of characters Lamar's had in his career.
Receiving wise, definitely.
Yeah, it's really paying off too. And if somehow miraculously they were able to get Andrews back, I mean, look out, their offense is even scarier.
All right, let me get to a couple more comments here. John Gonzalez wants to, I will run through a few games in the allotted time that I have. Let's wait and see what Jackson does in the playoffs. Usually he does nothing, but it is a different AFC this year. There's a lot of teams. I mean, who
wide
really
open.
knows? I mean, Buffalo's coming on. Does Buffalo get in and pose a threat? Cleveland, you spoke about. I mean, Kansas City. I mean, who really knows with them? Miami, nobody's really impressed with. Then you have teams like the Colts who are in the mix. And,
I think I would actually have to say, I think Buffalo is the second scariest team. I think the Bills are the scariest team to knock off.
Buffalo has a playoff spot right now, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is Buffalo by 9-6? They have the 6th spot.
I think they're in right now.
They do.
Buffalo has the 6th spot right now.
And the way their defense is playing, and the change to Joe Brady at offensive coordinator from Ken Dorsey, it's really been about establishing James Cook, and they've all of a sudden and the biggest criticism even of Brian Daboll was they just don't run the ball enough. And
I've been saying that for years with Buffalo.
And Ken Dorsey kind of took that to heart as well. He kind of mirrored a little bit of what Daboll did in kind of the system. Joe Brady was like, no, we're going to be a tough football team, right? We know Josh Allen can run. We know he runs people over. But we're going to get James Cook going. And James Cook has been a monster. And look, Diggs' numbers have taken a hit, but you know what? So what? And you know what? Go cry on the sidelines against Steph. I mean, it only does.
There's no question that there's only one brute force, and Brad has made a lot of great contributions to the entire history of the Sports Report. But just like anybody else, you don't disappear and not say anything. Like especially when you're a high school basketball coach and you work for a organization. This is going to be shooting here, not a popular thing here, but you would certainly not tell your employer that, hey, you're not going to show up one day and teach kids. You're not going to say, hey, and just disappear. You would certainly tell Level Up that, hey, I'm not going to be there for training, and he hasn't had any communication. So there's only one brute force, but clearly he's got some explaining to do because
we might have to rename him the Mute Force.
He's definitely muted right now because he's not speaking, so he's definitely on mute. So we'll get Ron in there, and I think Ron will do a great job for us. I'm excited about you, Ron. There's a different Chiefs. Mahomes is having fits on the sun, so let's go.
You talk about the Ravens with Lamar Jackson having his best supporting cast. I think the Chiefs with Mahomes is the complete opposite. I think he has his weakest supporting cast.
Call me crazy, but I think the Chiefs will make it, but I'm not like...
they'll be in the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to win.
Well, they're 2 games ahead of the Raiders, right? Two to go.
Yeah, they're definitely going to win the division. I think it's just a matter of, how strong are they going to be in the playoffs? I don't see it.
Well, I think realistically,
they might be a one and done in the playoffs this year.
Well, what are they going to be realistically? A 3 seed, right? Because Miami's got the 2.
Yeah, they'll be the 3 because whoever wins the South, and obviously Jacksonville's no guarantee right now with the Lawrence.
Yeah,
but the Chiefs will be the 3 seed, but that could also get them matched up with Buffalo.
I'm convinced with Lawrence out. I think you said it. I think Jacksonville may just go 8-9, and I think Jacksonville
maybe, and maybe Indianapolis wins or Houston wins the division.
I think that's an excellent point. We lost you there, Justin. You got to come back in. We'll do that. Well, he hopefully comes back in. Jay, you weren't the same guy who said the Chiefs are still in it, and since he stopped it, stick to teams you actually know something about. Tough word there. The Baltimore Kid. Let's see what John Gonzalez said. John's the host of the Sports Authorities group. You can follow them on the Sports Authorities on Facebook. Laporte keeps proving himself week after week. Packers in the playoffs. I don't know. So I guess I'll ask you then. Packers Vikings. I mean, what do you think there? That's the Sunday night matchup. Minnesota's favored by 2, but they're starting a rookie quarterback. I mean, pretty much
Packers should win. I mean, if they got to get into the playoffs, obviously this is the game to win.
Yep.
And they're going against a rookie quarterback, like he said. So it's all set up for them to do it. But can they win on the road in Minnesota? They've been inconsistent all year. They've had their ups and they've had their downs, right?
They've had a weird year, Green Bay. Yeah,
they lost to the Giants. which was embarrassing.
Lost
So
to Tampa at home a few weeks ago. Hung
Yeah.
on for dear life against Carolina, but beat Kansas City Sunday night. Were impressive against the Lions. They've had a real roller coaster season. Lost to the Steelers in last minute fashion. Beat Atlanta on the road. I mean, it's been a weird season for them.
Yeah.
But the problem is, though, the Packers already have 8 losses.
They have to win out and get help.
They got to go 9-8. So right now, the 6 and the 7 seeds are the Rams and the Seahawks.
Seattle.
They're tied at 8 and 7, and the Rams obviously have the tiebreaker. They beat Seattle twice, and the Rams are going to beat the Giants on Sunday. So the Rams will have 9 wins, and I think that's going to effectively clinch their spot in the postseason. And to me, the Rams are a team in the NFC I don't really want to face. Because I think the Rams are dangerous. Stafford's playing about as good of ball as he's played in his. Honestly, to me, I think he's playing.
Rams have had a good year. Rams have had a good year. You think about them
in
a
a
solid
running game, and they
Tua
got great receivers too. So
yeah,
and I feel like
dangerous
crazy. I was watching the Seattle game last week, and I felt like Seattle loses that game, they probably missed the playoffs. Now I feel like Seattle once again sneaks into the playoffs just because they won that game. That's how I kind of felt in watching that game. The last 2 weeks, Seattle finds ways to win, almost like cardiac kids like, and I kind of think Seattle finds a way to get at least 9 wins, and that would get them in right 9-8.
So you have a group of 4 at 7 and 8. You got the Vikings, the Packers, the Falcons, and the Saints. Now, obviously, the Falcons and the Saints are still fighting.
One of them are going to cancel each other out, right?
They will, right? Because I think Falcons play the Bears, and I think the Saints play a division game.
Doesn't Tampa and Atlanta play one more time, if I'm not mistaken?
In week 18, I believe so. And the Saints play the Buccaneers this week. And personally, I think the Saints will fall to 9 losses, and I think that'll effectively end them this week. To me, it's really about the Falcons, but they're also still fighting for the NFC South as well because the Bucs are only 8 and 7. So
I would think 9 gets the South, right? The South winner goes 9 and 8, probably, right?
Yeah, because I think the Bucs pick up their 9th win on Sunday. So it's going to be.
Bucs have had a good second half.
And then Tampa plays Carolina next week, so they should have the division. Tampa.
Yeah,
if Tampa beats
they'll
New Orleans,
probably finish 10 and 7.
If Tampa beats New Orleans, doesn't that effectively give them the division, right? Tampa beats New Orleans, doesn't that effectively give that to them? Because they beat Atlanta the other week, right? 2 weeks ago, they beat Atlanta. So wouldn't that give Tampa the division? And while we do that here, we'll get to more comments. John says he knows more than most. Our Hall of Famer, Rob Maraska, says he thinks the Chiefs are going to have a hard time in the playoffs. Very well could be. This Jair Alexander thing hurt us.
Yes.
Ethan, thank you, Ethan. I'm going to say the 49ers are going to win.
So here's one little caveat that could throw a wrench into this for the Buccaneers.
All right,
the Buccaneers and the Falcons split their season series.
Oh.
The Falcons did win the first matchup early in the season. So with that being said, I think there's a good chance that they beat the Bears. I actually do think the Bears might win that game.
Bears have played better.
But
Tampa's in the driver's seat right now. All they got to do is win. And they got Carolina the last week. So,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think if
you're at home the last 2 if you're Tampa, right? You got New Orleans and Carolina. You should
the game you can't afford to lose this game right here against New Orleans. You beat New Orleans, you effectively win the division. But if you're the Falcons, so you're playing the Bears this week, and then you end it with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, so it's gonna get canceled out between those two teams.
I kind of feel like my
gut Packers realistically at 9 and 8. If they win both games, could they get to that 7 seed? Maybe, but it really depends on Seattle over this next couple of weeks.
And John says the Chiefs are in it. Yeah, no, they're going to be in. I think the Chiefs are going to wind up being the 3 seed, so it's going to be a matter of can they just turn it on in the postseason. Justin, he gives your Rams props. Yeah, Rams have had a nice second half. Rams have had a good second half. Got to give McVay
good defense too.
Yeah, and then listen, the Baltimore game, they could have won that game. You're talking about them with their 9 wins. And if the Chiefs
stay is the 3, they'll get a home game the first week, right?
Yeah, they would wind up playing Buffalo. Right, the way it's
right now.
Wow.
And Buffalo beat them a few weeks ago. Oof.
And I see Buffalo beating them again.
Oof.
Wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
I'll tell you what, that's a real tough one there. The original Cleveland Browns will not win. So yeah, one of those teams.
Wow.
Our Lions here
throwing a little shade at.
By the way, the Lions are not looking too favorably at what could lie ahead for them. They're the team that could end up with that first round matchup with the Rams.
Yeah, the Lions. I mean, obviously, we love our Lions on Sportzwire, but they have not been impressed.
That would be a shootout, I think.
And knowing this chip that's probably on Matthew Stafford's shoulder, I don't think I want to be seeing Matt Stafford in the first round at Ford Field.
The Lions, I mean, they've won 11 games, and they've certainly, won their last couple, bounced back, but they really, again, really not impressive. They've not been the convincing team you hoped for the first month of the season, let's say. So, that's obviously something to look forward to.
Detroit's defense is not that good. It's just not.
That's their huge weakness, is Detroit's defense.
Well, what do you guys think then? Dallas and Detroit Saturday night. I mean, Dallas is 6-point favorites here.
And they play great at home, Dallas.
I picked Detroit because I always pick the Lions, just in the interest of time. But
I think I took Detroit. Yeah, I took Detroit because they're getting. Oh no, they're getting 6. I figured.
I thought the spread was high a little bit actually. I thought 6.
Go the over in that game. How's that?
That's a good one.
Next season. Listen, next season
probably like 50, but go over.
Listen, next season when we do this, I'll set it rather than the guy that's old news that did it. Maybe we'll incorporate that. We'll have to see. But Dallas, Detroit.
Guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, what am I going to say? I'm not trying to badmouth. It's he just isn't on the show. I mean,
that's it. We can't say his name anymore. That's it. We shouldn't say his name anymore.
I mean, look, I think people are going to certainly have their opinions. They're entitled to them. But he certainly, it is what it is. Yeah, that Thanksgiving game against Green Bay. That might be the game that saves Green Bay's season. The NFC is either the Niners or the Birds. That's a lock. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Detroit.
I would not want to go Philadelphia lock right now.
Yeah, Philly's
not playing well. Okay, but then who would be your second team after San Francisco? Who would you put?
You know what? Don't be surprised if Tampa surprises people in the playoffs.
But Baker
Mayfield playing really good. I'm just saying. I hope not. I hope it's Philly, but Tampa, man, is because Detroit, like you just said, I don't trust their defense. Philly they can score with anybody, but they could also give up 35, 40 points a game.
Now, the way it works right now, San Francisco's got the 1, Philly's got the 2, Detroit's got the 3.
Yes.
I mean,
Philly has to win out to get that 2.
But do you see realistically Tampa, let's say, going into San Francisco or going into Philadelphia and winning?
I could see them going into Philly. I don't think they'll go into San Fran
in cold weather. I mean, we imagine it's going to be cold eventually. I know it's been like extremely warm for the most part. I'm not complaining, but I mean, we'd imagine it's going to be cold at some point down there in Philadelphia in Financial Field. I mean,
I just don't trust Philly right now. I really don't.
But you trust Tampa right now a little more.
I just think they're playing great. They've been consistent all year. Like Philly was great early, and then they kind of they're
Philadelphia is like Kansas City a little bit too. You think maybe?
If you look at the expectations going into the year, a lot of people thought Tampa would be right there at the top of the draft. In play for Caleb Williams and here they are.
But they were in a weak division, though. That division is not very good. Yeah. That's not a great division. I mean, New Orleans.
I mean, the Panthers still found a way to be 2-13.
I just think that, look, maybe you could have won it here. Let's get to more comments here. People want to talk. Mahomes has proven himself plenty of times and won Super Bowls. Your friend from Louisville has won nothing. Does he have one playoff win? I mean, that's going to be what you're going to say when it comes to Mahomes. I mean, I can tell you it's 41 here right now. Yeah, 41's warm. I mean, New York, it was 55 today. I mean,
Philly, if you look at what Philly lost, when Philly lost to San Fran a few weeks ago, they got blown out at home. They have not been the same since that game.
Well, they beat the Giants barely. They lost,
and that was to me a big statement game, right? San Fran had to go in there and
they lost to Dallas Sunday night, lost to Philly. I mean, San Francisco 425. You beat the Giants. You hung on for dear life, and you lost to Seattle in the last minute of the game on Monday night. So yeah, I mean that's
a backup quarterback.
That's not ideal.
That's what I mean, and the way you play in December, going into the playoffs, means everything. It means everything. That's why a team like Tampa, they've been consistent all year. Let's see San Fran. Let's see if they can bounce back.
Maybe they're playing maybe they're playing for something. Mayfield's got something to prove. Bowles has kind of did a better than expected job there. Yeah, defense has played okay there. Let me go to some games here real quick in the interest of time. So Indianapolis and Las Vegas, very interesting matchup. Colts 3-point favorites. Raiders maybe Antonio Pierce is actually going to get the full-time job there. I don't know. I mean, and the Colts have been another team that's played really well. I mean, who do you guys see there in that matchup?
I like the Raiders. I just think they're a better football team. I mean, right now, the way the Raiders are playing, I mean, they didn't even have to throw the ball in the second half, and they were still able to hold on.
I was watching Army Navy,
and they found a way to hold on against the Chiefs on Christmas Day. I mean, the Raiders right now have that energy. I mean, ever since Antonio Pierce took over, it kind of feels like they've just the players feel like they have that juice again. Like there's just no juice with Josh McDaniels at head coach, and he's been a miserable coach in both of his stops at Denver and now the Raiders, and Pierce has come in, and ultimately I don't know what Mark Davis is going to decide, but
that's a tough one.
Antonio Pierce has absolutely earned the opportunity to be the full-time Raider head coach. People were clamoring and saying Rich Bisaccia should have been the full-time head coach, and then they went with this clown McDaniels. I mean, learn from your mistake. The players played for Bisaccia, and they damn near almost beat the Bengals in the postseason.
They should have beat the Bengals, honestly. Yeah. Good point.
They probably should have.
And I think Pierce is 4-3 or 4-4 since he's got the job, and they played well and they're alive.
So much more
he's
fire.
Playing with a rookie quarterback too.
And Aiden O'Connell hasn't looked half bad. I still don't know what he is, but he hasn't looked half bad. And to me, you're going to get like this roller coaster performance from Minshew. Like he's going to do a lot of good, but he's going to have a crucial turnover. And I think that's really what's going to allow the Raiders to win this game.
Yeah, I got the Raiders also because I agree with you. I like the way the Raiders are playing. Raiders defense has improved a lot. You go back in this season, Pierce's guys are playing for something. They're still alive mathematically. I don't know if they'll ultimately make the playoffs, but 3 points, I kind of like, definitely, I kind of agree with you here. And let me get to some more comments here. Mahomes is losing media attention to a pop star. Never heard of her. No one cares about former glory. Instead of throwing completed passes, he's throwing temper tantrums this year. Fill in the blanks. He really barely beat Carolina. He can't talk. Raiders and Pierce have done a great job. Yeah, they've done a great job. John, you hit the nail on the head. The Raiders, I would like to see them win this game. I'd like to see them keep Pierce. And you definitely hit the nail on the head here. So we kind of touched upon Tampa and New Orleans a little bit, talking about that scenario. Let's go because our buddy TBK is here. Baltimore, Miami. Baltimore, 3.5-point favorites. To me, this seems like a slam dunk with Baltimore just because in Baltimore, I mean, Miami, you just really don't know what
Waddle is out too for Miami.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to think here Baltimore would win this one and they would cover.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. Like I said, Miami – again, is not a good road team, and I think that's going to be their downfall in the playoffs. Are they going to be able to win, in Baltimore in the playoffs? I don't see it.
Yeah, I think that's 100. I think that's 100% how I look at this game. I mean, this essentially is the game for home field in the playoffs, and I just.
It's hard to buy Miami.
I see Baltimore being able to have more of an answer for Tyreek Hill in this game just because of the sheer fact that there is no Jalen Waddle. I mean, who are you going to have on the other side of him? I mean, it's going to be Cedric Wilson, but, I mean, Cedric Wilson doesn't provide the big threat that you kind of are looking for. So, to me, I think they're going to struggle. The only way I could see Miami winning this is if they really get the run game going. But Baltimore's been tough against the run. But with that being said, I mean, you got the league leader in touchdowns with Raheem Mostert. You got the heavy speed hitter with Devon Achane. I mean, they can hit you in multiple ways, but Baltimore's just better, and I think Jackson is going to cement his MVP status over the next 2 weeks.
And John Gonzalez also wants to say, TBK, wait till the playoffs. Stop with your insults, buddy. Show some respect. I've been following football. way before you were born. Yeah, no, obviously, let's not have the insults. Let's not. We already had on my page. If you go on Facebook, if you're like TBK and John Gonzalez, go onto the Sportswire Radio Facebook page, and it was somebody that got mad that used to be a wrestling promoter and got mad. I already explained the situation. We were having a guest come on, and they took things and totally turned it and twisted it into something that we have zero to do with. So, let's keep it clean. Let's keep it civil. We always want to do that here. Let's go to a few more games here. Obviously my beloved Steelers are alive, but I don't know for how much longer. I at least like to see them keep that consecutive winning season streak. But Seattle, 3.5-point favorites here, 405. And Seattle, again, seems like they're going to do what they did last year and sneak into the playoffs when they're probably not a playoff team, but the NFL does add this extra playoff spot. So who do you like here in this matchup, guys? Obviously, you're going to know who I picked.
Well, you know what? I took Pittsburgh too, only because they're getting 3.5. They looked really good last week. They actually scored. Their offense actually looks pretty good. But can they do that again? Going into Seattle, I don't know, but
maybe you got the quarterback situations. Trubisky can never play again in the NFL. Maybe that's a part of it. You brought Pickett back, and I don't know.
Mason Rudolph, maybe he's the answer.
Right? I mean, you hope Pickett comes back next year, but you don't really know. But Rudolph, has something. But I mean, you like Seattle or Pittsburgh in this matchup, Justin? Seattle's 3-point favorites here.
I like the Steelers in this matchup. I just think that Seattle's defense has just been they've been a little too leaky at times, and I think the connection last week you saw between Mason Rudolph and George Pickens is really what Steelers fans have wanted from George Pickens over the last couple of years. You kind of see a bit of some issues going on with the team. They got these receivers have attitude issues. We've seen Deontay Johnson have meltdowns. George Pickens has had meltdowns on the sidelines. But to me, it's about having the best weapons on the field, right? And sure, Seattle presents DK Metcalf and Kenneth Walker. And I probably would take Geno Smith over Mason Rudolph. But Pittsburgh's defense is so incredibly talented that they're going to keep him in this ballgame. And I think Mason Rudolph is going to play well again. He certainly played like he had a chip on his shoulder last weekend, and they're going to be in position to win this game, and I think they do.
Is Geno even starting this week? Because what's his name played well last week.
Geno played last week. Geno played last week.
No, Drew Lock did.
I was watching the game though. I saw Smith in there at the end.
Geno returned. Geno returned from a 2-game absence last week.
Oh, I was thinking the Philly game. I'm sorry, that was 2 weeks.
Yeah,
ago.
I was actually he led them down the field.
Right.
Lock against Philly.
Right.
All right, so obviously we have that there. So in the interest of time, I'll run through a few other games. We spoke about Kansas City 7-point favorites. Kansas City's been absolutely horrible against the spread this year, but it's a 425 game. And what do you guys think?
Oof. Both teams not playing well right now. But you know what?
Both teams need the game.
Yeah, exactly. Cincy, I took Cincy because they were getting 7 points. So, and I don't see Kansas City playing that well right now. And Pacheco, I think, is still out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I took Cincy with the points.
I like Kansas City in this one. I do think eventually they're going to have this big bounce back, get right kind of spot for them. Their core has definitely been lacking. Mahomes has definitely had his worst supporting cast in his young career, but the one bright spot that has emerged out of the season has been Rashee Rice, and he's finally given Mahomes somebody to trust other than Travis Kelce, and even Travis Kelce has seen his numbers decline, and maybe it's the way teams are. Maybe it's just the way the teams are defending him, knowing that there's not many other options. But now you have to worry about Rice. Rice doesn't quite possess the speed that maybe the Chiefs would like, but he's a good control receiver, and he's shifty, right? He's been so consistent for them of late. I think Mahomes leans on those two in this game. You run the ball with McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think it's going to be a good recipe for them. I think the Chiefs win.
And I think Kelce has to break out. He hasn't had 100-yard receiving.
And I think this in last week's
months.
game, I think he had 8 yards in the second half or something like that.
Yeah, they have to get the ball to him. I mean, Kelsey is Kelsey, right? And he has not been.
But you got, like Justin pointed out, you don't have the weapons you used to have, and they're double teaming him, and he's not getting the numbers that he used to get. And I think that's a big factor. And their running game is limited, and
he's not getting separation either. He's not getting a lot of separation at the point of attack.
Is age catching up to Kelsey?
34 now. I mean,
or is he just a little distracted?
Well, you know what? He might be. I mean, obviously, he certainly, see the stars, and obviously, you could certainly see why in the woman that he certainly likes, and a lot of people definitely like her, and that's Taylor Swift. But on the field, it's definitely been a struggle, and I guess I'll go over one more game of note before I get to closing this, because I have to run here in about 35 minutes. I'm going to be live with Australian Backyard Wrestling Down Under world champion Ace Reed, but we'll be back here Friday, actually regular schedule, full show regular, 10 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to induct Rob Maraska to start the show into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. So be there, Ron. If you're going to be on the show, message me on Instagram, 10 o'clock Eastern time, and we'll be here with that. So let's go through, I guess, one more game. In the interest of it, I'll pick one more game. I think that's interesting for whatever the reasons they may be. And that is, we'll go with the San Francisco 49ers. No, I'm not going to go with San Francisco and Washington. I'll go with actually
Monday night. Big Ron will probably want to talk about Green Bay.
Minnesota. Well, I think we did speak about Minnesota Green Bay, but we can do it officially one more time. Minnesota Green Bay. Who do you guys like?
I think Green Bay. I'm going to take Green Bay just because Minnesota's playing, the rookie quarterback. I think Green Bay will beat them, or they should beat them, and Minnesota's defense has not been good the last 2 or 3 weeks.
No,
they've been getting chewed up a lot.
Detroit last week we saw them have problems.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to take Green Bay.
I'm going to take Green Bay as well. I think last week's injury to T.J. Hawkinson, I think really probably put the death nail in the Viking season. They've already had the quarterback issues, right? Cousins tears his Achilles. Jaron Hall, who's getting the start this week, got hurt. You saw Josh Dobbs step in, and then he played poorly, and they started Nick Mullins, and now they're back to Jaron Hall in this game. And I don't know that they're going to be able to get the run game going all that well. And I know Ty Chandler's taking on a bigger role over Alexander Madison. And, and to be honest, no Jair Alexander is going to hurt, because to me, this speaks of this is the kind of game where you're going to see like 5 receivers have 1 catch, and then Jefferson has like 15. I mean, that's just the kind of game it is. Even if you put multiple guys on Jefferson, I mean, it's still going to be one of those games where he goes nuts. But the rest of the team, who's going to step up, right? Addison's questionable. He suffered an ankle injury last week, so you don't know if he's playing. So now you're down to guys like Brandon Powell and KJ Osborne, and who's going to step up in the tight end role. Their offense took such a big hit losing Hawkinson.
And you got the rookie quarterback too.
And you get the rookie out of BYU. And by the way, this is the kid that replaced Zach Wilson at BYU, Jaron Hall. So I just like the Packers in this situation.
All right, fair enough. And I want to say hello to Ace Reed. Ace, I will be here with you in about 30 minutes. So give me about 25, 30 minutes, and I'll reset back up. And we'll definitely talk with you. So obviously we'll see what happens here. There's a number of games out there. Definitely we'll talk about them. Obviously in our picks league, some person from Sportswire Radio is winning, but we'll obviously not talk about that just because of the interest of time. But we will talk about, I think next week on the show, we'll talk about some coaching carousel situations, teams to watch. We'll get everybody ready for the playoff situation. We'll pick some of the games. I don't think it's really necessary next week to run through every game. We'll run through a few important matchups, but we'll definitely have a full team. Obviously, we'll do all football, maybe a few minutes for baseball, but it'll really be all football. We'll induct Rob Maraska. Randy Dillon won't be here, so it'll be myself, Justin, Chris, Rob Maraska for a few minutes. And if Ron, you want to come in, you're welcome to. And that'll be all great stuff. So obviously, fellas, it has been an awesome, awesome new year that I think will be ahead for us. It's been a great 2023 with you guys. You guys have done a phenomenal job on behalf of working for Sportswire Radio and doing all the things that you've done. Obviously, the brand has definitely grown, and you guys have been huge parts of it here for the past couple of years, pretty much for halfway through the journey that you've both been here for. And I want to give you guys some closing thoughts here. One more time, closing thoughts in 2023, unless you're welcome to pop by Sunday night, New Year's Eve. But I realize it's New Year's Eve. People are going to be going out to Times Square, dropping the ball, being with family. But if that's the case, definitely I'm looking forward to Friday's show. And one more time here in 2023, let's go to closing thoughts. Justin, I turn it over to you. And anything else you want to plug, share, say, I thank you for your hard work, all you've done for us here on the Baseball Banter. And anything else you want to plug, share, say, floor is yours.
Yeah, honestly, not much of a message other than I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy new year. Tom, it's been great. Another year down. I believe it's now been 2.5 years. I believe I came along.
Yeah, it's just about
late summer, early fall 2021. And we've gone through 3 football seasons together with Chris. Some of the other guys that have popped up.
Rob, Billy's been here. Gotta give Billy McInerney a shout out. Billy's been here from time to time. He's been actually with us on and off for almost about 4 years. So he's been here.
Yep.
Billy's always been with us.
So it's been a great run, and I look forward to continuing again through 2024 and beyond.
Absolutely.
And I think definitely big things are in store because. What we've done, I think is absolutely incredible. What you do with the station and with the wrestling stuff and all of that, I think you do a tremendous job.
We do college athletics too. We had the 5-town soccer men's and women's coaches. That was a big thing. We have the basketball coach on the 10th. So we still do our college sports. We give everybody a voice and a platform here. That's what we've always done.
So I mean, you really got a lot. You got a lot of good stuff going on, and I'm more than happy to be a part of it, and
we love having you. Listen, I wish you'd do more baseball banter shows so I can hear what you banter about because we have the new website. Hopefully in 24, maybe the Hall of Fame, you give us something. You always
I think that's probably when I'll start to bring things back for the Hall of Fame and stuff and give a little opinion on it. But other than that, I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy New Year. And you can follow me on Twitter at JGNL or X, whatever the hell you want.
I know. You know what?
You get so your brain just gets so used to calling it Twitter, and then Elon Musk goes to
Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. People.
But it's at JGNLE12, and the Instagram is at JGNLE91. So you can follow me and hit me up there. We'll talk again next year.
Absolutely, and I want to say hello to TBK one more time. No, you were good. Don't worry about it. Things happen. Let's not, get worked up for it. Life is too short. I'm going to definitely see you Sunday night. We'll definitely talk some wrestling. Looking forward to it. If anybody else wants to talk sports, anything else, it's open-ended. So it's New Year's Eve. People want to talk. They want to say something. Anything that's on their mind, you're more than welcome to. Chris, I want to give you the floor one more time in 2023. I've really enjoyed the Liftoff Jet shows and the Talking Rival shows. I feel like you're hitting your stride with a lot of these shows. You guys have over 120 episodes in the books. I feel like the content, you guys have just done a great job. You and Sharman, you and Patrick, and I really got a chance these last several weeks to listen to these shows a lot more intensively. And not that I haven't before, but now I'm really paying attention to them. You guys have been awesome. And I can't thank you enough for your hard work. And I'm looking forward to what the future brings in 2024 and actually popping on your show and talking to you about something. I might make an announcement for you as well and a few of your co-hosts. But until then, I want to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say, the floor is yours.
Tom, thank you as always for everything. Justin, great show, man. Love chatting football on Friday nights, baseball, whatever. Yep. Tom, just thank you for everything you do for the show, for the 2 podcasts I co-host. I appreciate everything, giving us another, avenue to put our show out there, and you've made us grow so much more as well. So I appreciate that. Everything you do, posting for us and.
Oh, I love what you guys do. That's what we're here for. Listen, I always tell people when I do all my different shows, whether it's with the colleges or the wrestlers, Sportswireradio.org is free of charge. I take care of all those costs. So if you want to come on and get yourself heard on the World Wide Web, the internet, and you want to be able to play your podcast out there, have your voice heard any way possible, I take care of all those costs. I take care of the maintenance. I take care of the overseeing of the station, the website, all that stuff. So we want to give people an opportunity. We want to give back to the community here in sports. We want to be able to give people a chance that, not to say that, on the different platforms on podcasts that you're, not having those people, but we want to be able to give people here that opportunity that they can reach that audience and gain exposure that, I think that, podcasts like yourself and Justin and certainly Neil Villapiano's, Randy Dillon's, and when the Pinstripe Chronicles guys here are with us, and the Work in Progress, Giving Receipts, when TBK at Be More Talkative, all these different podcasts, we want to be able to give people a platform that they can go out there and feel like that they are being heard and making a difference. And I think that's why I have made a personal interest and investment into really people to give that opportunity to. It's something that I personally, will continue to do till, I can do it. I can do it. I can afford it, thankfully, but it's something that I will do till I will go in the grave.
Thank you. And I appreciate everything you do
I
for
will.
us.
And I live across the street from the
it
grave.
means a lot.
It shouldn't be a far place to go to, but that's the point. Different point.
It definitely means a lot to us. And next week we'll be hitting up Talking Rivals probably Tuesday because of the holiday and everything.
Sure.
And the liftoff we'll probably do either Tuesday night or Wednesday night. We'll be giving it to for that. And you can follow me, CP7NY on Twitter, at Liftoff Jets, at Talking Rivals, and on Threads at CP7NY as well.
Absolutely. Yes, we're on Threads here as well. And I want to thank Ron. Yeah, Ron, if you actually really want to be a part of the stream, just let me know. We're friends on Instagram. So,
bring him on next Friday night. That'd be great.
Love to have him. We definitely love to have him. And I want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Drake Golddragon. Drake, hang out because I'm going to actually leave the stream. I'm going to have another stream in about 25 minutes. I'm going to be speaking with the Australian Backyard Wrestling World Champion Ace Reed. So I got to get you on the show. I know I'm behind in a date, but I promise you it's the middle of the month that we're going to actually do because I have a bunch of guys from Resurrection coming on. I have Steven Silvestri coming on the 18th. I think the 14th we have Jacoby's coming on. So we have a number of the guys that are coming on. Mikey Anarchy's on Tuesday. So definitely I'll message you on Instagram and hang out in a little while. I'll be back on, but definitely do that. Also, thank you, Ethan, for joining me. I feel like, Ethan, you were on one of my streams the other day, maybe with James Barris, but thank you for your hard work. And subscribe to us on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. And yes, definitely let us know. And again, I want to thank everybody before we sign off, at least with the regular guys that I don't have a chance. I want to thank everybody again from the bottom of my heart. And I want to thank a number of people. I want to, first of all, thank John Gonzalez of the Sports Authorities Group, who obviously allows guys like myself and Chris to be moderators. I want to thank him for his support. I want to thank Anthony Finkel out there, is also a part of the group. He's definitely commented in prior shows, been a big supporter of us. Rob Maraska, congratulating him. I also want to thank Billy McInerney. Billy's been a great part of our group on Twitter. I want to thank Randy Dillon with us at the beginning of the show. Randy's always been great with us. I want to thank all of the podcasts that have been on the station throughout the past year, and many of the podcasts that we have been here now almost since we were back to the Sportinarium days. I know that you guys just came in when we made the change, but so a lot of those shows, actually, we were still the UK station. They were with us, like Neil Villapiano, also Randy. I think we had the Sit Down Mark still, the Work in Progress. So those shows that were with us when we were, really a British station have stayed with us. And I want to thank all of the wrestling companies. I want to thank all of them in the backyard. Yes, the backyard, the YouTube, the underground, the semi-pro, the pro, the independent, the UK scene across the United States, and all of our members of the Hall of Fame now. And that seems to be really growing in stature. And Ernest Stubb, I want to thank Ernest. Ernest has been with us almost since the very beginning, and he has been one of our really biggest supporters and biggest champions in getting us exposure. I want to thank the Five Towns College Athletics Department for their long time support us. They have been champions for us, and they will always have been champions. I want to thank our coaches and everybody else that has supported us, and all the people around the world that have believed in this platform and believe in what we're doing here. And they see that, every day we're getting results. They see our hard work in the community. Every day my work in the community in the neighborhoods of Staten Island and Brooklyn, those people, in fact, I have letters from people that have thanked me for what we've done with Sportswire. So, that stuff is, personal, and I appreciate those people that have been with us for almost 5 years. I wouldn't be anywhere without those people that personally believed in the platform. I want to thank, obviously, everybody that's come on throughout the year, and obviously you guys as well, and everybody from the team. So I want to thank everybody here. I'll be back on in about 25 minutes or so. Also, what time are you live streaming tomorrow? Okay, so I'm going to be on in about 25 minutes if you want to pop back on if you like Australian backyard wrestling. But I'll be on tomorrow or today, 10 o'clock Eastern time, Omen Black Soldier GP. And I'll be back all wrestling or sports, a little bit of mix of both, New Year's Eve, 10 o'clock Eastern time. So I just want to make that clear, Ethan. So definitely I'll be around. Those are the times. Check me out. I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. I'm on Facebook at Tom Bryce at Sportzwire Radio. Also YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6570. I always get in touch with me. And fellas, Happy New Year. Thank you for everything. I want to wish you guys a great night. I can't wait for 2024. I can't wait for next Friday's show. We induct Rob Maraska, one of our own, into the Hall of Fame. And stay tuned. More members of the regular guys are going to be in that Hall of Fame very soon. So stay tuned for that. And thank you guys and Happy New Year. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the regular Friday Night Sports Show, our last one of the year. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio. Join me was Chris Pizzea, co-host of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals, Justin Gianelli of the Baseball Banter, and I'll be back here in about 25 minutes with Ace Reed of the Wired Up Podcast. Until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Thank you, everybody, one more time, and I can't wait to be back in a little while, but also with these guys in 2024 to induct one of our own, Rob Maraska, into the Hall of Fame. Until then, I'll see everybody in a little bit.